They've scored at least 6. And that's with going, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 previous games they didn't get to 5 runs. And now 5 in a row, they've got to at least 5, including scoring 26 runs the last 3 games. Not all of them against Oakland. That's Oakland, and then 2 against Detroit, the Tigers. That was one of the sexy picks to win the American League Central. They still could. It's 50 games. All right? There's 112 left. So there's a lot of baseball still to be played this year. So the Tigers could win the division this year. This is not a they're facing off against a team that was a sexy pick, but we see them now. Tigers certainly could win the division if they get hot, playing well. But the way the Royals and the Guardians are playing, they're going to make it incredibly difficult for someone to catch either of these teams, because it's pretty annoying that the Guardians keep winning, and I'm assuming the Guardians find it really annoying that the Royals keep winning.
You know who has the longest win streak in baseball right now? It's tied. It's the Royals and the Guardians, both with 5.
Last 10 games, the Guardians are 8-2. The Royals are 7-3. Royals in their last 10 games going 7-3 have lost a game on the Guardians in the division. They've gone from a half game out the last 10 games to a game and a half out the last 10 games because the Guardians refuse to lose, and it is, quite frankly, it's quite annoying. The Royals in their last 10 games have the 4th best record in baseball. And they have still lost a game in the division because the Guardians, credit to them, they are playing phenomenal baseball themselves. And they are finding ways to win. The Mets gave them all they could handle last night. Yeah. They found a way to get it done. And good on them. And hopefully that slows down and that stops. And the Royals, the way they're playing, does not stop. And that continues. We'll talk some Royals today. We will talk with Max Reaper coming up in the 11 o'clock hour from Royals Review. We'll talk with him about this Royals team, how bought in he is. He wrote a piece a few days ago, in fact, now it's 5 days ago, about MJ Melendez. How patient should the Royals be with an MJ Melendez in left field? And one of the things I want to ask him about, maybe compare it to, is are there similarities between what we're watching with MJ and what the Royals did with Mike Moustakas before that breakout year for Moustakas in 2015, which came on the heels of the postseason in which he, turned it on in the postseason with home runs and big hits, defensive plays, and then carried that over in 2015 when he went from career 650 OPS to then the next 3 years OPSing over 800. Like, figuring it out. It took him a while to figure out. It was 500 games into his career for Moustakas. And the Royals said, patience, he'll be fine. Patience, he'll get it. He has to grow. He has to, superstars, you see it right away. You see it relatively quickly. If
Sure.
Bobby Witt was still struggling, we would be talking about superstars don't typically struggle into year 3 or 4 of their career and then figure it out and turn out to be superstars. It took a year of baseball for Bobby and playing a rough shortstop to then turn into a superstar that's going to finish in the top 5 of MVP last year and is the 2nd in the American League in betting odds and closing the gap, by the way, on Juan Soto. That is now plus 225 to plus 275 between the two.
A 6 RBI game's going to do it for you.
Couple home runs, 6 RBIs, 3 runs scored, add in a stolen base to boot, and a team that's won 5 in a row. He's not doing this on a team that's 7 games under 500, right? He's not doing this as the lone superstar, the lone good player.
Mike Trout.
Mike Trout's done that, and he's won MVPs with that as well because he's been so good and so much better than other players in the season. But when you've got a Juan Soto that's playing the way that he is, if your team is not winning, it will be tough to surpass what that guy is doing for the Yankees. Playing in a little league park, that's fine. But it'll be tough to surpass him, even though Bobby Witt's playing much more of a premium position. Because he's playing shortstop.
Well, and you have to deal with the New York media. Let's honestly be real. I think there's some. No, he's been phenomenal. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but I'm saying when it comes down to it, you have the pinstripes on. There's a little boost for wearing the pinstripes. We all know this.
Well, I know. Yes, I see what you're saying. Is in like from the MVP voting, not
Yes.
it makes it difficult for you to play. With, I thought you were saying like
I'm saying
you got to give him extra credit because he's doing it in New York and it's so tough to play in New
Hell
York.
no,
Okay,
hell no.
Now
It's
I read
like
you. Now I read you.
323 to right.
Now
Come
I read
on.
you. Now we're good.
I've seen SEC stadiums have longer. Like, come on.
That's right. My son's playing in a game tonight. That's 340 to
My
right.
softball, I think I could hit more home runs to right in Yankees than I could in my softball at Blue Valley Rec. Like,
probably,
come on.
probably. Yeah. So now we're on the same page, and I totally get that because Bobby plays a premium position. Soto plays for a premium organization, viewed in historical reference.
There we go.
So he's been fantastic. We'll talk with Max Rapier coming up at 11 o'clock. Mick Schaefer typically at 1 o'clock. He's going to join us at noon today, KSHB 41 Sports Director, because in the... You get an early Mick today. We get a nooner. We get an afternoon delight with Mick Schaefer. At 1 o'clock is when we will hear, one-ish, when we'll hear from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and we'll see who else is going to talk today after the first, using air quotes, week of Phase 3 OTAs. It was 3 practices. Next week, they'll have 3 practices, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The week after that will be Tuesday, Wednesday, I believe Thursday, Friday. And then they'll go into mandatory minicamp after that. So they finish up their first few practices of Phase 3. We'll hear from Andy Reid wrapping up this week. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes, and we'll see who else is going to be at the podium for the Kansas City Chiefs coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. We'll have that for you. We'll also talk some NBA, Western Conference Finals, Game 1 getting underway tonight. You can hear that right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Catching the game last night in progress after Sporting took care of FC Tulsa in the U.S. Open Cup. And the Pacers handed a game to the Celtics in Boston. Boy, that's rough for you and Mick Schaefer.
Dude, I was about to come in and talk so much smack.
Yeah, but you can't.
To Mick.
You can't because
they choked.
They absolutely.
Reggie Millard fourth quarter choked that. They looked over at Spike Lee, but in this instance, they were the Spike Lee Knicks.
That was a rough one. We'll see what happens. What is the entree of the conference finals is happening tonight, or expected to be the entree, because the Celtics are such the heavy favorites in that. 5 or maybe 6 games that thing will go. Whereas Dallas, Minnesota is expected to be back and forth, maybe going 6, maybe 7, hopefully. We'll see. The Pacers playing that way last night, they might be game to make this thing a series, but winning last night would have gone a long way to make it a series because you had that one. You can't give away a game to the heavy favorites.
Yeah,
steal one.
Quick thought on that if you are a Pacers fan, again, I don't really care that much, but when you were a Pacers fan and you saw what the Celtics defense were doing, you have to be at least a little thrilled. Also, you're bummed you didn't get away with it, but that drop coverage with Tyrese Halliburton was a disaster time and time again. He was getting free lanes. Just might as well roll up the red carpet. Guy is so quick with the ball in his hands. Even if his jump shot takes 12 seconds to get off, he's very quick when he decides to make a decision. And Al Horford was getting eaten alive. Now, he did step up later on in the game.
He hit a 3 because that's what he does late in games.
That's what he does, and he couldn't do it for the
He's
Sixers.
been doing it since 1972.
Couldn't do it for the Sixers.
Well, what are you going to do? You needed to do it for a good team. The Pacers shot 54% last night and almost 40% from 3 and still ended up losing that game.
But that was Boston's game plan. Boston's game plan said, we'll give you 2s. You're a great three-point shooting team. We're not giving you any open looks. They still shot 40%.
But they still shot almost 40%. I think 37, 38%, something like that last night.
But that was Boston's game plan.
Yeah.
And is it sustainable or not when Halliburton's getting to the rack anytime he wants? I'm intrigued to see how Game 2 game plan either switches or stays the same for Boston's defense because they got eaten alive.
Yep. We'll talk some NBA. Let's start off with the Royals, though. We talked a little bit about that when we were discussing what we're going to talk with Max Rapier coming up at 11 o'clock about. But in a league that is starting to be littered with incredible talent, insane talent. Last night alone, you had O'Neal Cruz for the Pittsburgh Pirates. You see what he did? O'Neal Cruz for the Pittsburgh Pirates hit a single in the first inning. Just a general old single, right? Just hit a typical single. in the first inning at 120.4 miles per hour. In the third inning, O'Neal Cruz hit a double at 116 miles an hour.
120 has to be the fastest is that fastest in StatCat? Because
That
Giancarlo was like 118
That was the
or
fastest
119.
this year. It was the fastest ball hit this year. I haven't looked at what the record is for if you want to look it up, that'd be fine. Fastest exit velocity this year, O'Neal Cruz hit it in the first inning on a single. Seventh inning, he hit a double at 121.5. O'Neal Cruz has the first and second hard hit balls in exit velocity this year in the same game. First inning, 120. Third inning, 116. Seventh inning, 121.5 off the bat. O'Neal Cruz. Insane shortstop. Ellie De La Cruz, insane talent. Shortstop. Corey Seager's insane talent. He's struggling this year. Struggling. And you see last night, Bobby Witt have a superstar night. You're talking about guys that are 22, 23 years old in baseball, hitting the ball harder than we've seen ever.
So 6'7" shortstop, by the way, is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, they're all like tall for shortstops, right? Even Bobby Witt's like a little tall for a shortstop. Ellie De La Cruz is a, power forward. Not power forward. He'd be a small forward or a shooting guard in the NBA. But looking at him on the baseball field, he looks like he's walking around like he's Mutombo.
It's not Omar Vizquel anymore out there.
No, not at all. No. What were you going to say, Dylan?
David Adler tweets that it's the fourth hardest hit base hit of the StatCast era.
The 121.5?
Yep.
And I'm seeing...
And he had a...
In this 100.3 mile an hour cutter.
That was what was amazing. It was a cutter. And
That's
it not only that, it was in the ninth inning. Not only that, it tied the game. They ended up winning in extra innings. They were down by one with 2 outs, and they had Reynolds at second.
Do we have to give some credit to the pitchers a bit on the... I mean, obviously we do, because when you're throwing 100 mile an hour cutters, you're definitely going to see a 121 mile an hour exit.
But a 100 mile an hour cutter in which he squares up and rips it down the right field line at 121 point. He turned around a 100 mile an hour cutter inside and sent it down the right field line at 121.5 to the point that they had a man at third, 2 outs, and Brian Reynolds at first. They were down by 1. He hit it so hard, the ball was back into the infield as Brian Reynolds got to third. A double.
Yeah.
He hit it so hard, 121.5, that when it skipped off the grass, it hit the wall and bounced right back into the right fielder's arm, turning through it, and Brian Reynolds, before he got to third, was already being held. I mean, he hit it too hard for the game-winning hit double. If he just hits a gapper double at like 111, they win the game. They won in extras, but the insane Bobby Witt last year against Duran for the Twins. The 100 mile an hour, 101, whatever it was, cutter inside that he turned and sent it in the left field for the grand slam and the walk-off, which the Royals since then have been one of the best teams at home in all of baseball. Their record at home is one of the best in all of baseball since that night when Bobby Witt did that. Like, we are watching insane talent that, as so young as they are, and you would expect as they grow and get bigger and better, as they get to 25, 26, 27, their prime years, like how talented we're seeing with some of these guys, these young hitters in baseball, that Bobby Witt doing that last night, hitting one 470, the third longest home run of the season. And last night we had the third longest home run of the season in Bobby Witt and the 2 hardest hit balls in the on the season with StatCast.
I'm seeing,
and they're both 22, 23 years old.
I'm seeing the hardest hit ball again. This is MLB.com. MLB.com has O'Neal Cruz as the hardest hit ball in Major League history.
At 121.5?
122.4 is what the official one comes in, at least on
so it wasn't,
MLB.com.
So was that last night? Or
it was last night.
So at 122.4 is what it measured last night?
That's what it said.
Because at the time on the broadcast, it showed the exit velocity, and it showed at 121.5.
Okay. Well, so
O'Neal Cruz is 25 years old already. So never mind, he sucks.
Either way, point remains, ball was absolutely torched, and we're entering a new era of baseball as you're talking about. With pitchers throwing harder, of course, balls will then be reverberating off the bat at quicker speeds if you can square it up.
Ellie De La Cruz 22, Bobby Witt 24, O'Neal Cruz 25. But that's the thing is the velocity and movement is what we've never seen in baseball before. And yet the hand-eye coordination to catch up with that, to square it up, and to have enough power to swing through it that when the bat hits the ball, it doesn't, ricochet back, right? Not ricochet, but you know what I'm talking about.
Ricochet back.
But
reverberate back.
Yeah,
but I already used that
recoil.
word.
Recoil. It doesn't recoil back. You're driving through the baseball and squaring it up and seeing a trampoline effect.
Yeah.
On a wood bat with a baseball. Remember that shot they showed with Giancarlo Stanton?
Yeah, that's
when it's slow-moed and it showed the bat and the ball hitting and they squeezed in together and then the ball took. It's like that's a metal bat and a tennis ball. That's not a wood bat and a baseball that he does that. Like the power, the bat speed, everything. It's a different level and it's amazing to watch. And let me tell you, this is an ancillary part of the Royals being so good. Because the Royals being so good, I'm watching so much more baseball this year than I was last year. And I'm seeing these things on a nightly basis and checking in on different games and checking in on the Guardians and Clase taking on the Mets and Lindor and Martinez coming up in the ninth inning and him taking care of business, which was annoying. Pete Alonso swinging at a pitch 5 feet outside the strike zone for some reason. Very annoying. Like I'm rooting here, scoreboard watching, rooting and pulling up the extra innings app and watching the Mets lose and sitting there rooting for the Mets to win that game. And then seeing the highlights as the MLB extra innings app pops up and it's like O'Neal Cruz double 120 miles an hour. Wow. And then in the ninth, O'Neal Cruz 121.5, which you said at MLB is measuring it at 122.4.
It's just
and because of the Royals, I'm watching way more baseball and getting a chance to experience and enjoy watching some of the insane talent that's working its way into baseball and through baseball.
Well, again, it always helps when the Royals actually hit on a pick. Now, we know this was one of the can't-miss prospects, but still, how many can't-miss prospects turn into nothing? Just looking at Detroit, not trying to pick on Detroit here, Casey Mize was 1-1, right? Casey Mize was supposed to be like, not necessarily Strasburg level, but he was oh my gosh, this is going to be an ace. Everyone knows it. He's an ace. He's got a 4.57 ERA. What has he done in the majors that makes you think that this guy is going to be a dude? He's been fine, but he's just been fine. He was drafted 1-1. Spencer Torkelson was drafted, was it 1-3? 1-2? First round, it was top 5, top 3, I'm pretty sure, for Detroit. He's done nothing in the majors. Mm-hmm. He's OPSing under 600 this year for the Tigers. I mean, some of it does come down to hitting on the right guys because the Royals hit on Bobby Witt. While it seemed at the time you can't miss, it was obvious, and you're looking at Baltimore, I think they're happy with Adley Rutschman.
Yeah.
Both teams are happy there, but how often have the Royals gone through this where it's, great prospect, phenomenal prospect, then nothing ever happens? This is why it's so fun, because Bobby Witt Jr. is living up to the hype and then some. I love Eric Hosmer. I love Alex Gordon. Great careers. Gordon was the next George Brett. He wasn't George Brett. No one's George Brett.
Right.
Bobby Witt Jr. is on that sort of Hall of Fame path. I mean, it's very, very early. It's so fun to actually have a guy live up to every single potential accolade.
Yeah.
And it's already there.
It's been it's been amazing to watch. And last night, Ian Kraft put out the tweet of I'm gonna pull it up so I get it right. So his tweet that he put out last night was about Bobby Witt and what Bobby Witt did in hitting 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, and a stolen base. He's the 3rd shortstop in Major League Baseball history to do that.
Ernie Banks?
Nope.
Wow. Alex Rodriguez?
Nope.
Wow. Dylan, you have any guesses here?
Unless Dylan's seen the tweet. You haven't seen the tweet?
Am I going to get it, or is it like very, very difficult?
It's. I mean,
because A-Rod and Ernie Banks are typically always the answers for these.
Yeah, they.
Rich Aurelia.
No, it was Barry Larkin and Cal Ripken Jr.
Okay, so yeah.
And now Bobby Witt Jr. are the only ones to do that. But if you add in only 4 at-bats and add in the fact that Bobby added another hit, so he ended up with 9 total bases, that eliminates Cal Ripken Jr.'s game. Because Ripken went 2 for 5 in that game and had 6 RBIs, but it was the 2 home runs that he hit, a couple 3-run shots.
Stolen
that he
base
hit
is the most surprising point.
Yeah, right. So you had Ripken, you had Barry Larkin, and you had now Bobby Witt Jr. I went and looked all time, not just shortstops. I wanted to see all time how many players in the history of the game, every night, there are 18 guys that are playing and hitting in a game. 18 of them, every single game for every single year in Major League Baseball history, to have only 4 at-bats, to hit 2 home runs, to have 6 RBIs, to score at least 3 runs, and to steal a base. Last night, Bobby Witt completed the 14th game all-time of that. Every player that has ever played Major League Baseball, in every game that is played, that's the 14th time what Bobby Witt did last night happened. Because there are some games where it was 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, 3 runs, a stolen base, but it was like 8 at-bats. There were like a 25 to 15 game. It's like, okay, give Bobby Witt another game where he has 8 at-bats and he's swinging like this. I bet he'll have another game where he has a couple of home runs and 6 RBIs. But the fact that he did it in a limited amount of plate appearances, to me, is one of the more impressive parts of that. So here are the 13 other times it happened. Trevor Story did it last year in 2022 with the Red Sox. Or excuse me, 2 years ago in 2022 with the Red Sox. Trevor Story.
I know. I feel like he's been injured his entire time as a Red Sox. That's shocking.
Yes. Ryan Braun did it in 2016.
Yeah.
Corey Hart did it in 2011. while
also Brewers, right?
Yeah, while putting out a lot of music. Eric Burns did it in 2004.
Did he have sunglasses at night on in that game?
He
think?
did.
Yeah.
God, if he didn't, what's the point?
You get that reference? How did you get a Corey Hart reference? Of all the music you don't know?
It's random.
That's impressive.
Don't you only have to know that one song?
Yeah, exactly.
Sunglasses at night, but still.
Right. Rick Roll, then you got sunglasses.
Rick
Those
Astley,
are sort of the, right. Brian Giles did it in 2002. Gary
Love
Sheffield
Brian
did it
Giles.
in 95. Larkin in 91. Joe Carter in 89. There's a KC connection for you. Ray Boone in 54. George Grantham in 1925.
Yeah.
Jack Fournier in 1924.
Loved watching him play.
Johnny Mocan in 1923.
And that's an AAU team. Mocan is an AAU basketball team. I know that.
And Heine Zimmerman did it in 1911.
Heine did that?
Yeah, Heine Zimmerman did it in 1911.
Good for Heine.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that Heine was able to pull that off.
Yeah.
Nick Capel with the Royals also tweeting this out last night. We're getting to the point to where we're seeing all these different historical things that are great. Most wins through 50 games following a 100-loss season. You lost 100 games, then the most games through wins through 50 games the next year. 2024 Kansas City Royals with 31. Cleveland in 1988 with 31. 2005 Arizona Diamondbacks 29. 1905 Philadelphia Phillies 129. And also 29 wins in 1899, the St. Louis Perfectos.
Yeah.
So they, which one of the more fun seasons in baseball, right? The St. Louis Perfectos. Don't we talk about them a lot?
All the time.
That 1899 season at the Perfectos, it's like 27 Yankees. You've got those also Yankees of the 90s. You've got all these different types of teams and everything. The Boys of Summer, and the St. Louis Perfectos of 99. 1899.
I always talk about them.
Yeah. The 1898 team was so trash. They lost 100 games.
Well, that actually might have been with the Spiders. That actually, seriously, that might have been when St. Louis was doing the whole thing where they had like basically a minor league team and then a professional team, and they were moving back.
Yep.
So I think there actually was some interesting things happening with the Perfectos in 1899.
Well, the issue is like in from 1898 to 1899, they brought in Seven Finger Furman that ended up Top Hat Tony. that they brought in as well to go and throw some pitches there. Second baseman, they had Shirley Shorty.
Meatball Matt.
Matt was at first.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
yeah.
Meatball Matt was at first.
Dude.
Oh, my goodness.
What happened to great? What happened to great nickname?
Gas Tank Turley played third
Yeah.
for that 1899 St. Louis Perfectos team.
Why don't we have badass nicknames anymore?
I feel like everybody that ever played back in the day had some sort of a crazy nickname
But
there.
even like Oil Can Boyd,
Right.
Like that was in like the 70s. Like what?
Right.
We really got lazy with
Yes.
nicknames. Now it's just like KD, Kevin Durant. Wow.
Raleigh Fingers.
Raleigh.
See?
That was
Well,
Roland.
hold on. His last name isn't Fingers? Oh. How about that?
Even like the early 2000s, we had the Answer. We
Yeah.
had the Truth, the Big Ticket,
Right.
Diesel for Shaq.
Shoeless Joe Jackson, Babe Ruth, Racist Ty Cobb. Like, these were the great nicknames they had for guys back in the day.
Greek Freak still
Greek
there.
Freak is still there. That's right.
And
Yeah.
a couple.
Joker.
The Joker.
But
You
that's
got
kind
that
of
one.
lame because this is it's just Nikola
Tessitore
Jokic.
tried to get Showtime going for Mahomes. Oh, Showtime, Mahomes.
Nah, that's magic.
He tried.
Yeah,
He tried. He tried. That was the Lakers.
I feel like we're really missing out on some great nicknames.
I don't know. Ant-Man. That's pretty good. I like Ant-Man. The King, LeBron. I mean, that's a great nickname.
But like we're getting lazier. What happened to like Oil Can? Like I want the Oil Cans and
I know,
the
right.
Raleighs and the
Yeah, you're right.
Goose Gossage.
Goose Gossage, yeah.
His
that's
name was
right.
Rich.
Mad Hungarian. You
Mad
know?
Hungarian there,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yeah. But
If I had my druthers.
they the most wins through 50 games for a team that lost 100 games the year before. More wins than the Diamondbacks, the Phillies, and the Perfectos of St. Louis.
Matt Derrick texted said, "Never surrender is better than sunglasses at night." So we got to play some Corey Hart apparently pretty soon.
What does Matt know about Corey Hart?
He's a big power ballad guy. I trust Matt Derrick with
I
this.
know. I would actually trust Matt Derrick with that as well. I trust Matt Derrick to give us his Corey Haim analysis too. Any Corys that start with H. You know, Corey Henderson, no longer here. More analysis on that. And gone, Corey Henderson. Sterling, you were right about 1899. That was the 20-win season for the Cleveland Spiders.
You thought I was making that up, and I was
No, I knew the
pulling
Cleveland Spiders,
knowledge
but
out
I
of
didn't
my
realize it was
dome
an
right
18.
there.
I didn't realize it was that 1899 season of 20 and 134 for
Why
the
did you
Cleveland
question
Spiders.
my 1899 baseball knowledge there, Jason? That was actually a little rude of you.
The team that ended up winning that year, 101 and 47 was the record of the Brooklyn Superbas.
Bad names back then.
In order of finish, Boston. But what was their name? And it just says Boston. But they had
the Braves.
They had a different name in 1899.
It
No, it
wasn't
might have been like the Boston Tea Spoilers or something. I don't know.
Boston Bean Eaters.
Yeah, the Bean Eaters.
Were they the
Yeah,
Bean Eaters?
I think that's what it might have been.
Yeah, they went 95 and 57.
Yep, 95-50. So the Bean Eaters. Then you had the Phillies. Then you had the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, the Phillies and Orioles.
What a weird name. The St. Louis Perfectos went 84 and 67. The Cincinnati Reds. Good luck about 50 years from now when it comes to being named the Reds.
Did you know that Billy Hamilton was on that team, on the Boston Bean Eaters? In
Really?
the outfield, too. That's
Yeah.
crazy. A Billy Hamilton in the
Oh, yeah,
outfield.
I remember when Billy Hamilton came up, it was like, hey, there's a Billy Hamilton back in with the Bean Eaters.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh Pirates finished 7th. Finishing 8th was the Chicago Orphans.
What?
Yeah, but they weren't claimed by anybody else in baseball that year. Number 9, the Louisville Colonels. 10, the New York Giants. 11, the Washington Senators, and then finishing 12th was the Cleveland Spiders that year.
You know what's great when you look on the Boston Bean Eaters team?
Yeah.
There's just a question mark by 3 players. Like, they don't know. Harvey, it says, like, I'm on baseball
Harvey
reference.
Wallbanger?
It goes, Harvey Bailey, question mark. Like, was this a guy?
Yeah, the St. Louis Perfectos were led by Patsy Tebow, Cupid Childs. You had Cowboy Jones, George Cuppy, Cy Young, named after the award.
Yeah.
They named him after the award Cy Young, which is what are the odds? He ended up winning a number of Cy Young awards, too, so that was pretty cool for him. Yeah, some of those great players, that the Cowboy Jones and the George Cuppy and the Patsy Tebow and Cupid Childs.
You know what's crazy
Great
about Cy
names.
Young? He came into baseball as they were still throwing underhand.
Mm-hmm.
And then he ended up becoming like the best overhand pitcher. Like I've always found that insane. He literally came up when they were still throwing underhand.
In 148 at bats, he OPS'd 537 that year.
He also had a 2.5 ERA.
Yeah. So he was essentially he was one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he was also MJ Melendez at the plate.
He also was smart. Do you know that
Melendez has like 148 at bats, right? Sorry, MJ. I'm sorry. Now I apologize, but I gotta find out now. I gotta see what MJ Melendez 145 at bats, and he's OPSing at 577. Cy Young in 148 at bats, OPS'd at 537. So 40 points higher than Cy Young in 1899, OPSing with roughly the same amount at bats. So MJ, take that, Cy Young. Take that, Cy Young.
he didn't wear a glove until his 6th year in the league.
Why would you, though?
Yeah.
You don't need a glove.
Cy Young. By the
Real
way,
men don't wear gloves.
he was smart by habit. He restricted his practice throws in spring training. He goes, I don't want to throw my arm out. And he never warmed up 10 to 15 minutes before a game. He would just throw 3 or 4 balls and be like, I'm good to go.
Well,
He saved the bullets.
That's
Smart
weird.
man.
That's weird because I was told the reason arm injuries happen is because they don't throw enough. Like they used to back in the day when they just threw and threw and threw and threw. And now they're worried about pitch counts and trying to protect an arm, and that's why the injuries are happening. So you're telling me that Cy Young didn't throw all that much back in the day until he was actually pitching?
No, Farm Boy Young, as he was also known, did not do that.
I mean, was his real name Cy?
His
Or was his real name Farm Boy and his nickname was Cy?
His real name was Denton. Denton True. His middle name was True.
So his real name is Denton, his nickname is Cy, and he's also got a nickname named Farm Boy?
Yeah. This guy slaps. This guy's awesome.
Everybody
Cy Young is.
So many people had nicknames that some people had 2 nicknames.
His first appearance was for the Cleveland Spiders, by the way. Do you know his last appearance?
The Perfectos?
The Boston Rustlers. Boston was still trying to figure out a
Yeah,
name. They're like, well, the Bean Eaters isn't going to work.
maybe we rustle some things up, just come on, rustle some fixins and try to get some food here.
He did pitch for the Perfectos.
Oh yeah, he did in 1899. Yeah.
Well, wait.
No, he had a 2.5 ERA.
Yeah.
Time out.
Okay.
So Boston went from the Bean Eaters to the Boston Americans, and then the Boston Red Sox, and then the Boston Rustlers,
and back to the Red Sox.
and then the Braves.
And then the Braves, then the Braves,
so
and then
really,
Atlanta. So it was different Boston. Yeah.
Boston, what are you guys doing up there?
Which brings me to the point about Bobby Witt Jr. and what he's been doing this year. Just
Big Bean Eater.
Yeah, he's been made. Is it black beans or refried beans? Green beans?
He's strong.
Edamame?
Oh, I love edamame. All the B's, the alliteration got us talking about Bobby Witt.
The third longest home run by any player in 2024 this year. Bobby Witt's 468, behind Aaron Judge and Mike Trout, who both had one at 473. The longest home run of his career by 25 feet. 443 was the longest.
And it's close to sea level, by the way.
Feet.
Like think of that too. It's not like Colorado or Arizona or a place where the ball typically flies. This is in Kansas City and Kauffman. That's insane.
The third longest by a Royals player in StatCast, behind Brandon Moss, who hit 474 in 2017, and Kendrys Morales hit 469. Nice in 2015. August 25th, 2015, Kendrys Morales. Maybe the best free agent signing in Royals history, some would say. Kendrys Morales? I don't know. Maybe. Certainly would be in consideration, right? Probably conversation for that if you're smart.
I want to bring up Alec Marsh really quickly because
Yeah.
I think he deserves a ton of credit. The Royals had no idea who their fifth starter was going to be. There was a legit battle between Jordan Lyles, Daniel Lynch, Alec Marsh, Jonathan Bolin. And Alec Marsh earned that fifth spot, right? He earned that fifth spot. And he's done nothing to show otherwise. He got injured when he took that comebacker. He didn't want to come out of the game.
No.
That dude
Hell, he didn't want to go on the
bull.
IL.
And all he's done is come back. He's thrown up a 2.72 ERA in 8 games. And I'm looking at the process, too. Again, his changeup's been phenomenal. His four-seamer has been a great pitch, even though, again, only 94, right in the 49th percentile, very average fastball speed. But he's getting so much weak contact on that four-seamer. Overall, folks are batting 170 and slugging 226 against that, and the underlying numbers of the four-seamer, well, they replicate that. There's nothing wonky going on. The only pitch he's actually getting hammered on is a sinker. All of his other 4 pitches have been under 200 batting average against between his four-seamer, slider, curve, and change. So maybe that sinker should maybe just throw 4. Maybe don't throw 5, just throw 4. But when I'm looking at the underlying numbers, not giving up a ton of hard contact, he's been right in line with a third starter on a team, a number 2 on some teams. So I'm sitting here going, the Royals are getting that from a 26-year-old fifth starter, a guy who they didn't know where he really fit in long-term on this roster, where he fit in this year, and he's been nothing but amazing. So Alec Marsh, got to tip your hat to what he's done so far.
The boys are playing some ball.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Love that. Love that. Bobby was going to get the final word from Joel, and Bobby said, no, I'm going to defer to my man over here that had 2
The
triples.
boys are playing some ball.
Yeah, they are. Loving it. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up this hour. We'll talk with Max Rapier coming up. RoyalsReview.com. Wrote about MJ Melendez. Wrote about buying into the Royals. I feel like, there's a full buy-in going on. We'll take a timeout, come back. More Zone next. Jay Melendez, because that still continues to be something that will permeate throughout this season if he continues to struggle. Because what move are they going to make? Can they make? Will he be the move? Hunter Renfroe hit a home run last night. MJ's played pretty well the last 3 games. You know, he's really hot the last 3 games. He's batting like .320. Max Reaper coming up next.
all-natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we'll talk some Chiefs coming up in the next hour. Mick Schaefer will join us in the noon hour. Mike North, Vice President of Broadcasting for the NFL, has a clip that's out there with Adam Schefter's podcast talking about the Chiefs' schedule specifically and how the Chiefs ended up playing on 6 of the 7 days of the week. So we'll do that coming up later on in the show. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and we'll see which players will be at the podium today, 1 o'clock, after the final day of first week of Phase 3 on out there at practice facility. Let's talk some Royals baseball. Max Reaper, Royals Review, joining us here in the zone on this Wednesday. Max, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Jason. I'm just pumped to see the boys play some ball.
The boys are playing some ball. That's what they are doing, Dylan. Oh, Dylan. Oh, no. He's upset at himself. And we're all upset at you. It's okay.
The boys are playing some ball.
Here we go. Just have that ready all day, all day. You know what, Max? For the next 112 games, just have that one ready, Dylan, okay? You in agreement?
The boys are playing some ball.
Nice job. Max, let's start with this because it was one of the things I was going to talk about to start the show. We never got into the conversation because we started talking about the St. Louis Perfectos of 1899 somehow. But how bought in? So it's 50 games. There's a level of skepticism that comes with being a Royals fan anyway, and watching this team and seeing them lose 100 games last year. We know they've changed out a number of positions, and it's a legit starting rotation. But are you fully, head first, 100% bought in the way that we were in especially in 2015, 2014, that second half certainly, but 2015 was like all year. And I'm not saying this is a World Series team, but from the standpoint of skepticism and waiting from the other shoe to drop to fully bought in, where are you at with this team right now through 50 games?
Well, I totally understand the skepticism. I mean, we've seen Royals teams get off to a good start. Just 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I guess, 2021, when they had Carlos Santana and Andrew Benintendi, and they had a nice 16-9 start, only to then go on an 11-game losing streak.
That's right.
We've seen the rug pulled out from under us, but I mean, we're coming up on Memorial Day weekend, which is when the pennant race traditionally starts. And we have a Royals team that's not only in it, but among the best records in baseball. And it's not just the fact that they're winning games. It's the fact that they look the part, right? They're not a team that's kind of winning through fluky, the other team, does some messes up, or some guy, just randomly starts hitting this week. They're doing it through the formula we've seen be successful before. A team that fields the ball very, very well, a team that can get after it on the base paths, create havoc, make things happen, and a team that puts the ball in play. And not only that, but there's just a diversity in the offense that we haven't seen before. They're not only playing small ball, but they're able to hit home runs. I mean, what we saw at Bobby Witt Jr. last night. 468 feet into the second tier of the fountains. I mean, that's just something we don't see out of Royals hitters that often. It's really a treat to watch. And then the starting pitching, of course. We haven't seen a whole lot of that as Royals fans over the last couple of decades. And to see, half of their games this year has had a quality start from a starting pitcher, 25 out of 50 games, 6 innings or more, 3 runs or less. All of last year, they had 31. So the starting pitching has improved quite a bit. And when you have good starting pitching, you have a chance to be in games. And they have not only been in games, but they've closed it out. So I'm in. I mean, I feel like at the very least, we're going to have an entertaining summer where this team is going to be competitive. And they may not make the postseason. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But they're going to give us something to cheer for and something to give us a lot of fun this summer. And who knows? I mean, the ball bounces the right way. They make a nice trade or two this summer, and J.J. Piccolo, I think, is kind of pressing all the right buttons as far as trades lately. This could be a really fun summer, and I hope fans take a tour out to Kauffman Stadium and get a load of this team because it's fun. It's a different atmosphere at the ballpark these days.
Well, and how bought in I am. I'm fully bought in to the point that I was joking about it in the first hour. Like I'm pulling up on the extra innings app and I'm watching the 8th and 9th inning of the Guardians and Mets game last night while watching the Royals. Like that's how fully in I am right now with this team because I'm getting annoyed that the Guardians keep winning every single night. and I know the Guardians have to be getting annoyed that the Royals keep winning every single night. Royals go 7-3 in 10 games, and they lose a game on the Guardians who win 8-2. And the Guardians are sitting there going, "We just went 8-2, and we gained a game on the Royals." And so it's been so much fun to watch. And one of the reasons why, the staying power, the sustainability versus some volatility of years past, and you talked about a couple of years ago with that great start that ultimately fizzled away very quickly with that 11-game losing streak. But, oftentimes we see like guys that we think are going to be great players, and it may take a little bit of time for them to sort of grow into that. But superstars, Max, typically show their superstardom early in their career. And Bobby Witt last night was a superstar game, and he has been amazing this year. He's the second betting favorite in Vegas for the MVP this year, behind Juan Soto, and he is closing the gap on those betting odds, by the way, behind Juan Soto. And I think the importance of what we're seeing from Bobby is that when we talk about a superstar, that first year, he's 22 years old in the big leagues, plays a full season. Shortstop was really rough, finished 4th in Rookie of the Year, OPS just over 700, and it's like, what's he going to do? I thought they were going to move him to third base, Max. I was like, your best third baseman is Bobby Witt on this team. And all he did was show his superstardom a year ago, an OPS over 800, finished 7th in the MVP, slugging almost 500, and now he's carried that on into this year. We see that typically, right? That if you're going to be somebody that's going to be one of the best in the game, it doesn't typically take that long for you to show the signs and to start playing some consistent ball at a high level. And that's what, Bobby Witt is doing, showing that he's going to be this guy for however long he's playing baseball, and certainly for the next 7 years in a Royals uniform, assuming health.
And it's really been remarkable because I'm right with you. I had some doubts about his abilities defensively. He didn't look that great at shortstop his rookie season. I had doubts about him his first professional season. Like his first 30 games in the Arizona League were pretty underwhelming for a guy that was the number 2 overall pick. I had doubts about his ability to, control the strike zone. He wasn't a guy with a high walk rate in the minors, and he's just overcome every doubt with, with straight A's. I mean, he's just amazing in his ability to overcome these kind of adversities and become the player that, lives up to the hype. I mean, how many times have we had hyped up players in Kansas City who, maybe they end up being really good players, guys like Johnny Damon, Carlos Beltran, Alex Gordon, all terrific players, but they were hyped up quite a bit as like, oh, this is going to be the next superstar. And I don't know that we've really had a superstar like this since peak George Brett, really. Like, guy that can just, pick up a lineup that's, quite frankly, the rest of the lineup's pretty underwhelming for a contending team. And he can just, pick them up and say, don't worry about it, I got it. I'm going to hit 2 400-foot bombs and steal a base and, just provide terrific Gold Glove defense. And for him to just improve in every aspect of the game, his defense has been remarkable this year. His strikeout rate, he's cut his strikeout rate. He's not getting fooled on those sliders anymore. And then, of course, the power and the speed we knew about, but just to be able to put that all together in an MVP type season, he's trending as like you say, you talk about his MVP odds. He's on pace to be a 10 wins above replacement player. 10 wins above replacement is like Barry Bonds, peak Alex Rodriguez. It's just you're talking about rarefied air. So just to see a guy develop and become what people kind of thought he might become. They didn't say he was going to be a superstar, but they thought, he's got superstar potential. And to see him actually kind of overcome all these obstacles and get to that point, it's really fun to watch. And he's got kind of I think, being the son of a professional ball player helps. I think he's got that maturity level. He's got a very patient, I think, approach to the game. But still, to see this happen, it doesn't happen very often. So Royals fans enjoy it because there are not many players like Bobby Witt Jr.
The boys are playing some ball.
Darn right.
Right on cue.
I love it. It's rare to see somebody who's batting .290 through 183 at bats, Max, on the season, and 11 at-bats later has raised his batting average to 304. Like, it's not like your first couple of games and you have 11 at-bats. It's like, oh, you just added 14 points to your batting average. Yeah, you were batting 150, and now you're batting 164. Congratulations. You're batting 290, and now you're batting 304. 3 games later, Michael Garcia's added 100 points from where he was to now, and it's just like, those guys near the top of the lineup. Like that's how awesome they've been. And is this going to be, in your mind, a season-long thing where the offense has these ebbs and flows, these peaks and valleys, where they go 6 games where they don't even get to 5 runs, and now they've got 5 straight games where they've scored at least 5 runs and 26 in the last 3 games? And is that how you think the season's going to go, or can they find some consistency, some better production at the bottom part of the lineup, which helps out with consistency, that they can be a team that more often than not is scoring 4 and 5 and not go through these stretches of where they play 6 games and they score 19 runs, and then they play 3 games and they score 26?
I do kind of think there's going to be some ups and downs. And we saw, when the Royals were good in 2014 and 15, I mean, that 14 team got off to a dreadful start offensively where, they fired their hitting coach, and we were all, saying, what's wrong with these young hitters we were promised? And, of course, they turned it on at the right time and made that great postseason run. So when you have young teams like this that kind of rely on putting the ball in play, there's going to be some dry spells where it's going to be really difficult once you start facing some of the best pitchers in the game. And, they face some pretty good pitching so far. I mean, Detroit isn't a great team, but their pitching is legit. I mean, they played some good pitchers this series, and they got a really tough test this afternoon against Tariq Skubal, who's been, I think, one of the best pitchers in baseball. But so far they passed the test. But there's going to be, Salvador Perez is hitting 478 with runners in scoring position. You won't be able to do that for an entire season. Right. There's a little bit of unsustainable hitting right now. With runners in scoring position, they've been getting those 6-run 7th innings, late in games, and they've been kind of a different team when it comes to late in games, and hopefully they can keep that up. But that's not something you kind of want to bank on. So there are some guys overachieving, but at the same point, I mean, there's some guys that are underachieving. The outfield, they're 8th in runs scored per game, but their outfield is the worst offensive production in all of baseball by a significant margin. They have gotten 0 out of that offense. And, you mentioned Hunter Renfroe maybe coming around, nice home run last night. Yeah. But they're going to really have to get some more production out of those guys, and I think they will. I think some of those guys have a little bit better track record than they've shown, but there's going to be some ups and downs for sure. So, don't panic once they start going through a week where, they're scoring 1 or 2 runs per game. And I'm very curious to see how Bobby adjusts because guys are going to start working around him, right? I mean, he's lucky that Salvador Perez is hitting behind him and hitting so well. Because if I'm an opposing pitcher, I don't want to, give anything for Bobby to hit. At the same time, you don't want him on the bases with Salvi coming up. So it's quite a predicament right now. But once if he's going to be hitting 400-foot bombs against pitchers, they're going to really be a lot more careful with him. So we'll see how he adjusts. But certainly, I think there's reasons to think this lineup's going to have its ups and downs, and I think it's why the trade deadline is going to be important. Because I think it's pretty clear for a lot of fans they're going to have to add some bats to the lineup.
Yeah, I want to talk about that here in just a second. And when Bobby's swinging the bat like this, I don't know why you would throw him a strike because he's locked in right now, and he had like a week and a half where he was fighting it a little bit and was striking out and was missing some fastballs down the middle and just swinging behind it, and you can see that he was going through a little bit of a stretch, and now he's just crushing the ball. So I'm not throwing him anything near the plate right now. But if you've got Vinny that's swinging the bat better and Salvi there, then it's like, okay, what do you do? And especially when if Michael Garcia in the last 23 games is OPSing at 850, and getting on base at 365, well, you pitch around Bobby. Odds are Michael Garcia is on the base in front of him. So now you're putting 2 men on base for your 3 and 4. So it's a tough stretch to be in, a tough spot to be in with the top 4 of this Royals lineup. Max Reaper's our guest from Royals Review. You wrote a piece on May 17th, so about 5 days ago, about MJ Melendez and how patient we should be with MJ Melendez. He's played 320 games in the big leagues. He's sitting at just over 1,100 at bats and OPSing under 700. He went through the transition from catcher to right field, now to left field. So I ask you, how patient should the Royals fans, the organization be with MJ Melendez at the big league level before they maybe look at the record, look at their position in the standings, and say a decision needs to be made?
Yeah, well, first I'll say I like MJ Melendez as a player. I think he's a good hitter overall. I mean, I think he's got potential. He's got a great approach to the play generally. Like, he's not a guy that's up there hacking. You know, he's got power potential. He had 41 home runs in the minors. His defense has improved significantly, which is pretty remarkable for a guy that's a former catcher. So, and I'll say fans are always going to be a little more knee-jerk reactionary than the front office. You know, we're kind of removed from these players. The front office, they've, chosen these players for a reason. They believe in their potential. They are projecting what these guys will do from here on out. And, for whatever reason, they like the guys they have because they haven't made a move yet. That being said, the trend line for MJ Melendez has not been good. He's a guy that, he last year you can kind of chalk it up to he was learning a new position. The numbers, and he was better in the second half. He looked like he was kind of turning a corner. This year he got off to a slow start in April, and he thought, okay, well, let's give him some time to work it out. This May has not been good for him. He's striking out 30% of the time. He's drawn one walk, which at least last year when he was struggling, he was at least kind of drawing walks and getting on base. This year he's not even doing that. He doesn't have a home run this month. And just at the eye test, he looks kind of off balance. He looks like he's kind of lunging at pitches. It doesn't look like he has a good plan up there. So, we had these 2014 Royals back in town last weekend, which reminded me, hey, 2014 when Mike Moustakas was playing third base for the Royals in the World Series, a couple months before that, he was in Omaha. The Royals had demoted him in May of that year because he wasn't hitting. And he was in his third season at that point, which is where MJ Melendez is right now. And for all the promise that Moustakas had shown, he hadn't really kind of turned the corner yet. And, he was only down in Omaha for a couple of weeks, and it wasn't like he was, gangbusters the rest of the year, but, he was good enough to start for a pennant-winning team. And then the next year, of course, he was an all-star. So there is a case to be made for patience overall with Melendez. But at this point, when you have a team that's not in an evaluation season anymore, you're in the competitive race, how long can you really afford to sit and wait for MJ Melendez to turn it on? And would a demotion kind of be good for him to reset, to get his head on straight, work on his swing, and also kind of send a message of like, hey, we're not going to sit around and wait for you guys to develop anymore. We need production, and if it's not going to be from you, we need to move on to someone else. And so, I'm not the biggest Drew Waters fan in the world, and, guys that hit in AAA that don't hit in the big leagues, there's tons of guys like that. But if he's just putting up the numbers he put up last year, which were kind of underwhelming, but, solid defense and speed, those offensive numbers are better than anything we're getting out of the outfielders this year. So at this point, it seems like a move is long overdue. I understand, they may have their reasons for not wanting to swap guys out, but, J.J. Picollo's talked a lot about having guys with options as a means of having roster flexibility. You can send guys down without risking losing them to another team. Melendez has options. Take advantage of that. Get him right. You want to get him right for later this year when hopefully, he's a good hitter and helping you win this division. In the meantime, see what Drew Waters has, and maybe he can give a little boost to his offense and maybe, provide some offensive production because you're not getting any of that from the outfield right now.
It seems like Max Reaper's our guest. It seems like whenever there's a player that struggles, and specifically this one with MJ Melendez, we go back to Mike Moustakas and talk about that and like, okay, they were patient. It worked out. It took them a while. That 2014 season, like you talked about, he got sent down to the minors, came back up. Wasn't special when he came back up. The postseason, all of a sudden, he started hitting home runs, having some big at-bats, playing some, really solid defense. And then in 2015, from the beginning of the season in 2015, so maybe carrying over from the postseason, maybe that was what really clicked for him of like, okay, I'm a good player. And then in the 2015, starting in 2015, 5 of the next 6 years, he OPS'd over 800, did Moustakas, where he was OPSing at 660 in his career going into 2015. So I don't know if it was like a slow burn or if it was got into the postseason. You're playing for a team that can win a World Series, and you got to think that you're good enough to be able to do that. And that belief comes in, that confidence, because he became a player that the Royals said, be patient with. I do worry, and Max, I'm with you with looking at Moustakas, and I'm like, all right, that comparison that's there. You do worry about like the one sort of outlier that took 4 years in Major League Baseball before he started OPSing at 800 when he was OPSing at 668 through almost 2,000 at-bats. MJ sitting at just over 1,100 at bats. So he's about 700 away from where Moustakas was entering the 2015 season, and the numbers are pretty similar to what Moustakas was. It would be great if it turned out to be that. I worry about using sort of the outlier of a guy like that, but I'm also with you that if we are going to make the comparison to Mike Moustakas, well, then we have to acknowledge the fact that he got sent down because he was struggling, and then they eventually brought him back up, where we can't just look at it and go, well, they were so patient with Moustakas. They were, to a point. When they were trying to win in 2014, they felt like they had that team. They couldn't keep carrying a guy that was batting 180. They couldn't keep doing that, so they had to send him down to figure out and let him figure it out, Max, and maybe bring somebody else up to see if that was the answer. And then they brought Moustakas back. If we acknowledge that, then we have to acknowledge the fact that, MJ Melendez, it might be time to send him down, see if there's another answer, see if he can figure out some answers at AAA.
Well, and also with Moustakas, another reason they could be patient with him is that there wasn't like there was anyone kind of pushing him off his position.
True.
I think they acquired Danny Valencia that year, but he was more of a role player.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't like some young third baseman that was going to push him off. It's like, who else are you going to play there? With Melendez, I guess you could probably argue that the same thing. There's not like there's some stud outfielder, although Gavin Cross starting to hit enough at AA that you feel like, okay, he might be an option later this year. But Drew Waters is at a point in his career too. We kind of need to know what he is. And I've seen some people suggest like, oh, they don't want to bring him up because they don't want to hurt his trade value. It's like, well, he's got 500 plate appearances in the big leagues, hasn't really hit that well. And like I said, there's a lot of guys that hit well in AAA that don't hit in the big leagues. Like the only way he's going to increase his trade value and his value overall is by hitting in the major league level. And maybe the Royals need to kind of see that at this point now and see what they have with him. So I'd like to see him up, just if nothing more, to see what we have with Waters, and also maybe kind of send a message to Melendez like what you're doing now isn't working. Because the Moustakas, I think with him a little bit of what was he's been a first-round pick, a highly touted prospect who would just destroyed the minor leagues. And so everything he had done was like, well, this is working. My approach is fine. And then he gets to the big leagues and kind of struggles and maybe doesn't change his approach. And maybe that demotion to the minors sent a message like, wait, hey, I need to actually, my career is kind of hanging in the balance here. I'm getting in the head of these guys. I don't really know. But we Melendez may need that kind of kickstart. It's like, okay, at least reset, get your swing right, because we're going to need you in the second half, and we need you getting back to that, that 41 home run hitter in the minors that can draw walks, because we need to lengthen this lineup.
Quick aside, Max, you mentioned Gavin Cross. Is it time for promotion? I mean, he's in the month of May, he's played 17 games and he's only batting 400 with a 460 on base percentage. He's slugging 667, so he's OPSing at 1.1 in 17 games in May at Northwest Arkansas. He's raised his batting average from 215 to 311 on the season there at AA. About time to send him up to another level, to AAA, to see what he has there, if this is him turning a corner and being a guy that was a top 10 pick.
Yeah, he was a guy that I thought would be a quick riser when they drafted him, and they were kind of aggressive promoting him initially, even though he had some struggles. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do kind of send him to AAA pretty soon here to give him another challenge. And I think you at least want to give him some time to have some success, since he hasn't. He didn't have much success last year. For his confidence, you want to give him, have some nice big numbers for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's a guy that at this point is back on the radar as a guy that could be a big league contributor. I mean, it's not inconceivable by September. I know they only expand rosters by 2 now, but he's a guy that could be if they're in the race, kind of an interesting bat to call up in September to give you another bat off the bench. So. I'd probably look at challenging him pretty soon in the next couple of weeks and getting him up to AAA. And, boy, the Royals really need a guy like that to turn it around the farm system. Certainly a farm system that needs some guys improving. And so far the signs have been pretty encouraging, not just him, but Blake Mitchell's playing pretty well, Austin Charles hitting the ball really well the last couple of weeks. So there are some guys that are rising, I think, in the minds of evaluators. And hopefully Cross can be another guy that can kind of contribute and be a big leaguer before too long.
It's a great point about his numbers and struggling, and maybe just let him continue to experience success for a little bit longer before you throw him back up to AAA, give him another challenge, and maybe those numbers start to dwindle a little bit more. It's an interesting point, but yeah, I was with you. I thought he'd be a fast riser, and at least, Max, you see signs of what, made him a top 10 pick and what he's doing at Double-A right now. So thank goodness, because the alternative is much more of a disaster.
Yeah, and the Royals, they're going to have to some tough decisions to make this summer because they kind of have to weigh the long term of like, okay, Gavin Cross is, what's the best for Gavin Cross's career? How can we get the most value out of him while we have him versus, winning right now? Like, Gavin Cross, can he help us right now? And they're going to have to make that decision with trades. Like, how aggressive are we going to be at the trade deadline? Do we feel like we just want to get rentals who aren't going to cost that much? Or are we willing to give up a prospect we like a lot, maybe an Austin Charles, maybe Blake Walters or someone like that, to get a player that can make a significant impact on the pennant race? Because I understand they want a sustainable winner, and you're a small market team, and you can't, you don't feel like you want to push all your chips in. And I'm not suggesting they empty out the farm system, but these kind of opportunities don't come around necessarily all the time. Where you have Bobby Witt Jr. playing at an MVP level, as good as he is, like, you're not going to get MVP seasons every year. George Brett. He was phenomenal in 1980, but he didn't do that every year. Like, there's years where he was not as good, but he's still a very good player. But when you have that MVP season, you kind of want to take advantage of it. Now, how much longer is Salvador Perez going to be a high performing player? How good is how often are we going to get this type of starting pitching from these guys? A couple guys are in the 30s, and one who's had a couple Tommy John surgeries. So when you get off to a great start like this, and you have guys playing so well, kind of want to capitalize on it. And the Royals are going to be in an interesting position this summer. Hopefully, if they continue this way, they'll be in an interesting position this summer where they're going to have to make some hard decisions and maybe part with some prospects that hurt a little bit. But if it makes them a better team this year and gives them a better chance at winning, not just a postseason series, but it's not crazy to think at this point that they could be serious contenders for a title. Then that may be something they have to do, and I think that's what Royals fans want to see. They want a team that's aggressive about making this team better.
I mean, a wild card series, they could throw Reagans, Lugo, and Waka out there 1, 2, 3, and you feel pretty good about your chances to win all three of those games in a wild card series. It's not like you're throwing, well, you made the playoffs, so let's see what you have with Singer, Lynch, and Lyles, and hopefully you can score enough runs. No, that's a pretty damn good 1, 2, 3, especially when you got a guy who is now in consideration of starting the All-Star game in Seth Lugo, which is just amazing. Hey, Max, on May 22nd, there's going to be a conversation of a Royals pitcher starting the All-Star game. Cool. Cole Reagans has been badass.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Seth Lugo is the guy that they're talking about. Very, very quickly, Max, because you've been gracious with your time. The trade deadline, how aggressive do you think they should be? Should it be, going out and getting a legit bat to play a corner outfield and then having a trade that hurts with the prospects, or work in the margins of bringing in somebody that can produce and help out in the corner spot and add some bullpen pieces, but you're not taking away guys that you feel like could be contributors for this team in 25, 26, 27?
I think my first instinct would be to look for guys that are kind of rentals that, are free agents at the end of the year that can be an upgrade over what we have offensively, and maybe another bullpen arm as well, because the asking price is not going to be as high for a guy that's only here for 2 or 3 months. But them being a kind of younger team, a small market team, they may be looking for guys that are, have several years of control left, which is going to make, you're going to have to give up more for that. And I think there's a case to be made with the state of their farm system, which is improving, like I said, but it's still not. I think a bottom 10 farm system, improving, and we'll see. Maybe after the draft, maybe we can reassess that. But there's a case to be made if the farm system's not very good, cash it in.
Right.
There's not like there's a whole lot of help coming along in the next year or two to help Bobby Witt Jr. and Vinny Pasquantino and Salvador Perez and this pitching staff. Like, if you can exchange them for pitching or for players that can help right now, kind of makes sense to do that. So, like I said, interesting decision. I kind of lean towards being aggressive. So we'll have to see what they do. I think it's going to be interesting, and it's nice to be in the conversation, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I'm with you. I've gone from, it'd be nice if they're close and then they sell, to, damn it, I think they should be aggressive now and see what they can get coming up in the deadline. Max Reaper, Royals Review. Max, you're the man. Very much appreciate the time, brother. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the baseball, man. We'll catch up soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. There's Max Reaper. He's fantastic. Royals Review is where you can find his work, and on Twitter as well. And I, at the beginning of the season, what I had said about the Royals, and in my mind, a perfect year, realistically, right? Perfect year is winning the World Series. Okay, awesome. Realistically, from where they were a year ago with 106 losses versus this year when I thought they would win around 77. So this is before the season. I thought, what would be a perfect year, realistically, not just perfect years winning the World Series, was they're good, they're close, but the front office recognizes they're not close enough. And come July, they actually turn out to be sellers because they found Cole Reagans with Aroldis Chapman. And can they do that with some other pieces? You end up selling, and now you're ready to go maybe more stocked for 2025. That sounded good in theory before you see the team 31-19, and you see Bobby Witt having an MVP season, and you see Salvi being superstar Salvador Perez. You see Salvi being this stud Salvador Perez, this Salvi being a guy that is continuing to give his Hall of Fame credentials another year, and I don't know how long can you get this? Is Salvi going to be this good next year or the year after that? So you say, oh, you stock up for next year, but then Salvi's batting 240 next year. Where, Bobby Witt, who knows what next year is. And this pitch, Michael Wacha opts out and goes somewhere else, and now you don't have Michael Wacha. Like, take advantage of what you have this year with Salvi playing like this, Witt and MVP caliber, your starting rotation. I mean, what's the point of gearing up for next year when this year feels like what next year was going to feel like?
Well, and I wonder if that was the thought process heading into this year, because they did take some, obviously, 2-year guys and some player options, but like Hunter Renfroe, I don't think anyone was taking on that contract. That was not necessarily a trade move when you had the second-year option, right? But let's just like an Adam Frazier. Let's say a Garrett Hampson, a John Schreiber. Let's say a
Stratton,
Nick Anderson.
Will
Smith, Stratton. I wonder if that was potentially the process of, okay, we have some building blocks. Let's get at least the floor raised. But if for some reason we're fourth in the AL Central, you're the Tigers, right? And you're looking up at, let's say the Twins were doing this and the Tigers were doing what the Royals are doing right now. Well, let's maybe sell up those 1-year pieces and get some things back. But now they're sitting here going, oh, I'm glad we made those moves. Because those are the moves they should have made, and you could flip-flop either way. You could be sellers with those guys, and no one says a word. It makes sense, okay? They're veterans. They're not part of the future. Or you have this outcome, and all of a sudden, now your bullpen's set. Now Adam Frazier is a nice piece to have off of the bat. Now Garrett Hampson is your super sub. I do wonder what the thought process. We'll never know. We'll never know because they won't tell us that, we plan on being sellers. But I do think in the back of their mind, remember John Jay?
Oh, yeah.
Like all those guys. They
started in center field.
You get something back, even if it's just a smaller named player. Contending teams like to have depth. I wonder if that was a thought process, but hell, right now, everything is pretty much going to plan.
Well, again, and we'll take a timeout, but like, if you would have told me, like at the beginning of the season, or if in my mind at the beginning of the season when I was talking about, being close, have them winning around 77 games, but selling off some of those pieces to stock up for next year, and you told me, hey, that's right, they're through 50 games, they're 31-19. I would have said, all right, it worked perfectly. This is 2025. They're 31-19. They stocked up for next year. This is great. They've added some pieces. They found another guy or two. They went out and spent a little bit more money in the offseason because they felt like they had something, and they're 31-19. And the pitching staff is awesome, and Bobby Witt's playing at an MVP level, et cetera. Well, that's this year. So things change. What was maybe potentially next year is now what's happening this year. So the expectation or the feeling of what next year could have been is what's happening currently. And I think you take advantage of that. I think you capitalize on that while you can, because it's been 10, 11, 9, 10 years since it's been something like this through the season. I've certainly changed course on what I thought going into the season versus now when there's data that we can look at in front of us and we can base our opinions and reasoning off of actual tangible things, which is the games being played. We'll take a timeout, come back, more Zone next. Chiefs had a practice today in OTA, started at 11 o'clock. We'll hear from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. We'll hear from Nick Bolton and Trent McDuffie coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. This stat coming from OptaStats. The Royals' Bobby Witt Jr. is the first Major League Baseball player to have at least 100 total bases, 30 RBIs, and 15 stolen bases in his first 50 games of a season since Barry Bonds in 1992.
Oh, that's alleged pre-Royd Bonds, too, probably,
That was
right?
that was Pittsburgh,
Pittsburgh Bonds.
Yeah, that was his last year in Pittsburgh Bonds.
That was pre
It was
Dome
MVP
getting
Bonds.
huge.
He won the MVP his last year in Pittsburgh, so I think that was MVP Bonds in 92. Then he went to San Francisco, won another MVP his first year there with the Giants. So I think that was...
Was
so
his
what
dome growing that year? Do we know? He did win the MVP that year. He won MVP in 92 for Pittsburgh. He won 2 MVPs for...
Two MVPs for Pittsburgh. I couldn't remember if he won one or two, but he won one in his last year at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And then his first year in San Francisco. He ended up winning 7 of them in his career. It's pretty good. I think it was late 90s when the dome started growing at a rapid pace.
Dude, he won one at age 39.
Yeah, that was
Imagine-
that was one of his 4 in a row that he won. Did he win
yeah,
4 straight?
Yeah, 4 straight. Yeah, when you OPS 1422 on base of 609, OPS in 422,
on base at 6-0.
slugging a nice cool 812.
You're on base at 600. You're slugging 812.
Do the intentional walks count towards?
Oh yeah, on base. Yeah,
He was intentionally walked. Let me see.
35.
He was walked 232 times. I don't know how many times he
Intentionally
was,
walked 35. I'm gonna say 35. That's probably way off.
Oh, where do you find the intentional walks here?
It's under IBB.
Yeah, well, no, I know that. I'm
Probably
saying
closer to like what? In the hundreds, because it was once a game.
What year are we looking at?
that was what 04. Let me see. 04, yeah.
Okay, so 04 intentional walks for one Barry Bonds.
So what we're saying is Subber
he
Press
had-
has a few more years left in him.
So I was way off on the 35. He had 120 intentional walks that year.
That's it.
Also an MLB record too.
120 intentional walks in 2004.
Yep.
He only made 18 mil that year, by the way. Pretty good deal.
So he also I don't know if this is the career record, but he has 688 intentional walks, which is
It's the
double.
most. Yeah.
Albert Pujols' 316.
Yeah, it's the most ever. He led the league in intentional walks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yep.
12 of his final 16 seasons, he led the league in intentional walks.
From 1992 to 98, then 02 to 04, and 06 and 07.
Okay, hear me out. This is I get
42 years old, Barry Bonds led the league in intentional walks at
okay.
42 years old.
Yeah, he OPS'd over 1,000 that year, by the way, at age 42.
So that's what happened when you take an extremely, extremely talented baseball player and one of the best players in baseball,
Maybe the most talented player of all time.
one of the most talented players we've ever seen, and now give him HGH and
Allegedly.
steroids.
Allegedly.
Now
It's
give
still
him
alleged,
HGH
Jason.
and steroids. And that's what you get.
Yeah.
When you artificially enhance that one of the most talented players we've ever seen play the game and then artificially enhance him, you see a robot.
Yeah,
you see an alien.
His dome was so big, it gave him better vision because he walked 232 times in 04. Guess how many times he struck out? Take a wild guess.
Oh, I know it was like it was like less than 60 or 70.
41.
Is that all?
Imagine OPSing 1422, walking 232 times, and just go ahead and strike out 41 times. If you're a pitcher that struck him out, you have to just be hanging up on a wall. 39-year-old Barry Bonds. So Salvi has at least 5 more years in him.
Dude, more than half of his walks were intentional walks. He had 230 intentional walks on the season. 120 of those were intentional walks. So it's like, what, 52%? 53% of his walks that season were intentional walks?
And it's like, if you're not trying to intentionally walk him, are you really going to throw 4 bad pitches that he won't make contact with?
Yeah, I mean, especially when he had 40, 60, 72, 70, 78 extra base hits that year.
He had 15 seasons OPSing over 1,000. One was not his first MVP season.
Well, 15 of his last 16 years, he OPS'd over 1,000, and the one he didn't, he OPS'd at 999.
Underrated lefty swing as well. I know that Griffey gets a lot of love, but he has a great smooth swing as well.
Griffey's is so pretty.
I mean, yeah, that's
Griffey's is pretty. Will Clark is just as smooth as smooth gets. I mean, it's just like.
All right.
Well, you don't like Will Clark?
No, I like Griffey. Griffey's obviously.
Oh no, I'm saying Griffey's the prettiest.
Yes, no,
prettiest
I agree.
I'm just saying Will Clark was one of those smooth.
What, no Jason Kipnis?
Doesn't look like there's any effort. You mean like no effort?
Yeah, just so smooth and effortless and just like pretty. But Griffey's was beautiful. It was perfection, and it was powerful. You know, I
think the strut as well after the fact.
Yeah,
maybe
it's
the
true.
first 3
Plus the sort of bobbing of the shoulders while he was waiting on the pitch.
Who chicken winged? Who was it? The Yank? Was it
Well, Hosmer used to chicken wing all the time.
No, who did this?
Hosmer would chicken wing.
Was it Bernie Williams that did the chicken wing?
No, Bernie. He was
Switch, but yeah, who did the chicken wing?
I don't know.
Who was the chicken
From
wing?
the left side?
That was a lefty. Who did the chicken wing? I thought it was a
I mean,
Yankee.
Tino
I
and
think
Paul
you're right.
O'Neill
Hosmer
were.
did it all the time.
Hosmer would,
No,
Hosmer
I'm
would chicken wing.
I'm
You're
thinking-
thinking of a Yankee, but I know.
I'm thinking old school.
Yeah, but Hosmer would chicken wing all the time just to keep those elbows.
Wasn't
Did
Posada,
Cecil
was it?
Fields ever do that? The chicken wing?
I don't know. But I do love how back in the day it was like, that back elbow, get that elbow up, get that back elbow up, which you can, that's fine. But now you see so many players like with the elbows down just to help get you on plane quicker. Because that elbow's up, that elbow's going to come down to help get the bat on plane. So you had Hosmer that would chicken wing just to keep his elbows down so he could immediately get on
so when
plane.
you throw harder, you see guys throwing faster now. Good luck.
You got to get on plane quicker.
I just always loved Jason Kipnis, who literally just kept it straight back.
Mickey Tettleman,
And then-
Mickey Tettleman did as well. Just held the bat, down, straight back, and then,
Ty Cobb.
went with it. Sure, I'll take your word for it. I didn't watch him play. I never seen him in person, so I don't know if that exists or not. I don't know about things before I was born. So 79 and before that, no clue of really anything.
You missed on a lot of good music.
That's what I've. I will take your word on that.
Yeah.
I've certainly have been told that that's the case. Just in general, maybe that is the case. But yeah, his swing, the optical illusion is fascinating too. Have you ever seen Albert Pujols' swing flip to the left side?
No.
It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous when it shows him from the left side.
Are you being like
you take
I'm pulling it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
you take left-handed swings and turn them to right-handed, like in the mirror, and it's like, oh, that's a nice swing. Then you take Pujols and you flip him, and they did that. What his swing looks like left-handed, it's like, oh, that was beautiful.
I'm so glad I bat lefty because it
was
makes me look
so-
like I'm at least decent.
I don't know why. Why is that? Why is it? It's the same
Oh
swing.
my gosh,
Is
you're
that
right.
is that beautiful?
I'm looking at it in slow mo.
Is that a beautiful swing or what? Like, he's got a beautiful swing because his bat stays through the zone for like 7 hours.
Dude, what?
And you see him do it left-handed, and it's like, that is so pretty. So I don't know what it is. It's an optical illusion as to why it looks like so much more of an elegant swing.
Can I give you a
on the
hot
left
take,
side.
by the way?
Yeah, sure.
I don't get why they call it like that. Why is that left-handed when your right
There's actually
hand,
an article here. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're.
your right hand is your lead hand? Like same thing in golf. Like I'm lefty in anything I swing, but your right hand is your lead hand, right? I've always been perplexed by why that makes you left-handed, because your right hand is the one doing the majority of the work.
Well, it's a great point. I don't know why that is, but it's why you see with your dominant hand being your right hand if you're batting, or your lead hand being your right hand if you're batting left, and opposite obviously with the right side. But it's why you see players from Canada throw right bat left. Hockey players throw right bat left because when you're taught to pick up a hockey stick, the first thing you do is you hold it with your dominant hand at the top, which then you bring that down and it creates a left-handed swing.
Well, that's what I do. So I
Matt
throw righty
Stayers
bat
and
lefty.
Larry Walker and any of those hockey players from any Canadian baseball player throws right bats left. Or it's the exact opposite, might throw left bat right.
That's
because
awkward, though. That's
your
the worst combo.
Your dominant hand holds the top of the stick, which
I think
then
Randy
creates
Johnson was that actually.
Yeah.
I think Randy was he?
I don't think it mattered though for him. I think
not as much.
Being the lefty pitcher was more important than being the righty batter.
So according to Washington Post here, the pitches from righties, which there's just more righty pitchers apparently, It is a easier plane for the lefties to see, and they're not having to lunge and reach over the plate as much as righties are. They also are more comfortable, is what it's saying, because of those things, is why lefties tend to look better than righties. Just because they're more comfortable. They barely have to bail out against high and tight offerings as well.
Because we're badass.
Is that right?
We're badass, yeah.
My son throws right, bats left.
Good for him.
But that was just because when he would like have like a, you give those like the baby like golf clubs, right, or something like that, those little small plastic ones, and he would pick it up, and anything that he swung, he would just swing it with his right. He was right-handed, so that's what he would pick it up with, and then it created his left-handed swing. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to change him if that's what's natural for him. I'm just going to let him do that. Now his sister does the same thing because she sees her older brother swing that way, and he's helping her learn how to swing playing t-ball, so she's swinging left-handed as well. So she's be a little slap hitter. In softball, slap that thing left side, get down to the first, be fast.
Appreciate Mr. Kemp 71 on the X. Joe Morgan. I wasn't thinking Joe Morgan, but Joe Morgan also had the chicken wing.
Oh yeah,
that's
Joe
a good
Morgan.
call.
When I searched who has the chicken wing stance for the Yankees or something, his name popped up. So.
Joe Morgan
Yeah.
did.
Yep.
So maybe I don't know why I was thinking Yankees. I was thinking someone in the '90s to like early 2000s. Could
Me
be
too.
completely wrong, but Joe Morgan for sure the chicken wing. So appreciate you on Twitter.
And I do love, it makes, me appreciate so many different like types of baseball players of the past that, the old school of like, this is how you hold a bat, this is your stance, this is how you have to do that. Whereas you've got an old school like Joe Morgan's like, yeah, my left elbow could be straight up like we see with so many, but I'm going to keep it down because my elbows are going to be here eventually.
Have we
so
thought
now
about
I
giving
can quickly
hitting lessons?
No,
on
I
this
do.
show?
You don't want
Have
hitting
we
lessons
thought
from
about
me.
just doing that?
You don't want
instead
hitting
of
lessons from me.
4 hours of radio,
Yeah.
just talk about hitting lessons.
Yeah, you don't want them from me. You don't want them from me. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and we'll talk a little more about beautiful swings next. director. We will hear from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Nick Bolton, Trent McDuffie in the 1 o'clock hour. So we'll talk some Royals with Mick Schaefer. We'll talk some Chiefs with Mick Schaefer as well. Mike North, the vice president of broadcasting for the NFL, was on the Adam Schefter podcast, and he weighed in a little more extensively about the Chiefs' schedule and kind of the view of, tough. Deal with it. Don't be so good next time. Which, hey, you know what? That's one a hell of a price to pay. There's your alternative. You could
Bell cow, baby.
You could be playing Sundays at noon and just sucking. Been there before.
food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. 1 o'clock, we'll hear from Andy Reid. Patrick Mahomes will hear from Trent McDuffie and also Nick Bolton. OTAs going on, the final day of this week's OTAs.
I got bumped for those scrubs.
Yes, you did. You got bumped for them. We said, you know what? What if we had Mick sit in while we heard from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Trent McDuffie, and Nick Bolton, and then we had him weigh in on what he heard for 3 minutes? Or we can have him in at noon. And
I'm surprised
actually,
you didn't go with that one.
That was our first thought, but then
I figured he wanted to come at noon so we could go to the golf course. That was my thought.
No, I'm going to head
No.
straight in after this.
yeah. So he was planning on. Now he's got to get into work an hour early. Sorry about that.
Quite all right.
That's too bad. I
That's
apologize.
quite
Yeah.
all right. I'll get some stuff done. This is my Friday.
There you go.
Tomorrow,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not back till next Tuesday
Oh
to
my
work.
goodness!
What?
A
How
little-
about these vibes I've got
Yeah.
going on?
By
I'm
the-
vibing with my
yeah.
vibe.
You'll be
My
gone.
vibe machine.
You'll be gone so long. They're going to have a Memorial Day for you.
Oh, they will.
Yeah. You're like, oh,
Yes.
here he is. He's back.
But in my will, I'm like, I just want you guys to cook out, right?
It's just
On
when
my Memorial
when
Day.
you memorialize me, just go ahead
cook
and cook out and
right? Get in the
have
pool?
some good time. Yeah, the pool opens today in our neighborhood.
Same.
So,
well, no, it's on Friday.
Oh, it's Friday.
Wednesday's
yeah.
a
Well, a couple
weekend.
of weekend. I can invite you over for a couple days if you want to.
A little farther north, so it makes sense.
Well, yes, it's,
Open hours
it's
later.
much colder
Yes.
there. It's a much colder climate where you are. Yeah, and also, so it turned out to be. We were talking about like the winds, but it turned out to be a couple of tornadoes that actually
It was
came through.
literally a EF1 tornado, and I was asking Cassie Wilson, our meteorologist, I'm like, so was there a funnel or are these just big winds? She's like, no, if it's daytime, you would have seen a funnel. It would have been a skinny one because it was really, really narrow. And then she was like, it's 110 miles an hour, and one more degree per hour would have been the EF2. That starts at 111. And I'm like, wow, that was legitimate.
but no siren.
Yeah,
because
no
apparently
warning, no watch.
Because apparently it didn't, quote, meet the criteria for a tornado siren. I don't know how a tornado does not meet the criteria for
I
a
don't
tornado
know what
siren.
goes into it. Like, do you have to have a watch on before they?
I'm wearing a watch. I will gladly press the button.
Tornado watch going before they can issue a siren, or they
You can't go straight to warning. You have to have
You have to have
something
watched
in
and
between.
warning,
You
yeah.
have to,
Is that right?
We didn't watch it, so there's no warning.
And then was it yesterday the sirens went off on accident?
Yes, we heard them.
Somebody pressed the button on accident, pressed the wrong button. Like, hey, here's the siren button and the no siren button.
Make sure that
what
guy
happens
doesn't
if I press the,
graduate
don't
to
press
the nuclear codes. Okay,
Don't press the whatever you do unless we tell you specifically. Don't press that button. This one, boop.
That guy is
Yes, that one.
struggling, not pushing it when there's a tornado and then pushing it when there's just. It's
Those are different towns. I want to say
Right,
that.
I know.
This Kansas City, Missouri, shutting Kansas.
He was actually listening
Could
to
be the
Salt
same
and
guy
Pepper.
though. Could be the same
Could be
guy.
same guy.
Listen to Salt and Pepper. Push it. Okay. I did.
Pushed
Now
it
what?
right. Pushed it real good.
Pushed it real good. Bam, 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 bam. That was actually what the siren sounded. Bam, 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 bam. It was crazy what took place. But yeah, people like it's Todd was talking about, what is it, this morning or earlier today? I can't remember. He said, walked outside, the sirens, looked up, nothing. It's a beautiful, sunny. What's going on here? What are we doing?
So, and I think a lot of city folk don't get this, but every time we had the sirens off in our town, or there was a tornado reported, or watch or warning, and it's daylight, we just went outside.
Went outside.
We got the cameras out,
Yeah.
right? The actual old video cameras you had on your shoulder. And like 2 or 3 times growing up, we were able to get video of a tornado. It was like the coolest thing.
One of my earliest memories, my mom and dad were fighting over. Well, most of my early memories are my mom and dad fighting, but this specific one,
That's what happened to you.
One of my early memories was they were fighting because there was a tornado. The siren was going on, and my dad walked outside to look at it. And we gotta get down to the basement. And, hold on, chill. Well, let's see where it's at. How quickly do we need to go? All right.
Just the dude urge to go outside into danger and be like, let's see how close we can get.
It's
Let's
what meant,
just-
your first urge is like, well, let me go
Let's
see
see
it.
it, yeah.
Let me go. Let me go check it out. Is it because it doesn't look that windy outside? So I feel like we got a little bit of time.
To me, tornadoes are nothing compared to like a hurricane. I mean, a hurricane just just the size of the swath and how much destruction.
Yeah.
Tornadoes, daylight, you can see where they are. We had the old wives' tale of like, as long as you stay south of the tornado, you're fine. Just be south of the tornado.
right?
Yeah, but I didn't know my direction, so I'm like,
Am I east of the tornado? I feel like
Does
east of the
south mean
tornado is the worst.
underneath it? Does that mean underneath it?
I feel like east
If you
is
look
the worst.
down, actually, if you
Yeah.
look down, you're
We're
looking.
north.
You're north of it.
We're
Yeah.
north of it. You know, I watched the movie Twister, the documentary on storm chasing.
The documentary,
and
yes.
and that thing would switch from time to time. It would just shift. You know, go in different directions.
Oh, it split off and they come back together.
Yeah,
and
right.
They had machine
twins.
guns at one time. The tornadoes did.
Yeah, they had twins at one point, and they had cows, and
Wait,
then
like the
more
Coors
cows.
Light commercial?
It was the same cow.
Twins?
It was the same cow.
Twister was filmed near my hometown, 30 miles away, in
Wow.
Waukeeta, Oklahoma, just across the border. Huge deal.
There's
It was
actually
big,
Waukeeta.
Yes, Waukeeta, Oklahoma. I played football there.
Oh, so when it hits Waukeeta head on, there's an actual town that's.
Yes, in northern Oklahoma. And the funny thing is, they spent months. They redid the entire facade of the downtown to make it look more, I don't know, movie quality.
More Waukeeta-ish.
Right? Yeah, I guess so. What they wanted Waukeeta
Classy.
to be.
Classy.
And so they hired a lot of people. And so there are a lot of people from Caldwell that went down there and worked for months to redo this entire town, the entire facade. They had a 2-second shot of it in the movie.
No way.
That's it. That's it. That's
'Cause I'm
Hollywood dollars.
Honestly, I was trying to think of what
At the end, or like after the tornadoes come through, there's like a wide shot panning up. 2 seconds.
Yeah,
That's it.
because they go to Waukeeta. They see that they're close to Waukeeta, but then they go to Joe's mom's house to eat. But
Yeah,
it
you
doesn't show
see
like driving through
houses
the,
and stuff.
just
but
shows them
the
showing
wide
up.
shot of the downtown used just once for 2 seconds.
I wonder how much maybe was used and then it got cut.
Oh,
Like-
I'm sure they shot
like-
a ton of it.
Like
yeah.
when they were driving to Joe's house, when they saw how close they were to go get some food, if they drove
Probably
through
other
the
scenes maybe that
downtown,
they did.
everything, yeah.
All the
with
people
Waukeeta.
sitting outside every single day hoping the cameras come by so they
Yeah.
can get in the movie.
Or maybe it's just a lot of just extra. I mean, like Hollywood's like the government, right? It's just going to overspend on everything and just waste your money.
Who was it John Bon Jovi was telling a story that when he started acting that they were doing these scenes and like, all right, cut, all right, let's roll it again, and he was like, we did it like 10 times, and he went up to the director and he's like, I am so sorry, I will pay for the film, whatever. He goes, no, this is how we do it.
This is normal.
No, it's not because we're not doing over because you're bad. This is how we're doing. He's like, he thought they kept doing over it again because he sucked.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll pay for the film. I am so sorry. This has been so bad.
I've heard when actors that become directors work so much quicker because they know what they're going through out there. And it's like supposedly Clint Eastwood. It's like,
Really?
yeah, we'll do this in one take, maybe two.
I know the vision I'm looking for. I know how to get it out of it. Let's do it.
Go.
Let's go here.
That's good enough. Let's move on.
I don't need 17 hours. Okay, you don't have to wait for 5 hours being the next call up. You know,
We're
just
not making the next Twister here.
Right.
They already did. They already did make the
It's
next
called
one.
Twisters. It's plural now.
Twisted Sister is what it is. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. It's Twisted Sisters. They were sister
Yes.
tornadoes
No, that was the
when they were out on
Pointer
the bridge.
Sisters. That was the Pointer
They
Sisters.
pointed right at the
tornado,
sisters,
yeah.
the tornadoes, you know, and then R.I.P. Bill Paxton, you know.
And
Jesus, Joe, is that what you think it did?
Was
Things
Sharknado part
happen.
of this? Was this part of the Twister?
different
explain
franchise.
it.
Shockingly, huh?
Can't predict it. Gotta stop thinking about the past.
R.I.P. Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Take a
in
look
that
at what you
movie.
got right in front of you. Talking about me,
I hated
Joe.
it because he had an Oklahoma hat on the
Yeah,
entire
I know
movie.
you had on this, right?
Which is they're a big.
I loved his character in that.
School.
I think I've loved every single Philip Seymour Hoffman character.
He was a great actor.
I mean, his range was brilliant, man. He was phenomenal.
Long Came Polly might have been his
Oh
best.
my God, he was so
character.
good. Rainmaker, making it
Oh,
rain.
I know
He had the-
Philip
he had the
Seymour
documentary
Hoffman.
following him.
Seriously, you're just now discovering Philip Seymour
I know who he
Hoffman?
was. I didn't know what he looked like. Now I know.
He wasn't
that-
in a band. Sorry. Had he played bass for Led Zeppelin, you would have pictures of him in your house.
Potentially, yeah.
Yes, probably. No, he had the documentary crew following him, and
So
Along
good.
Came Polly because he's hoping to then make the doc and then
Yes.
sell it.
Yes, sell it.
And sell the doc.
And he introduced. We can't know if we can say it on the radio, but he did introduce a word to everybody's vernacular in that movie.
He did. He
yes.
did do that, and that's you know what? It's a word that my children have used.
Already?
My child used it once. We're like, oh, yeah, but we've called it that before, and apparently that's what happened with the diaper. It's perfectly fine. The
Right.
underwear not as much. The NFL, the chain gang might go the way of the dodo
Tell me
bird.
more about this. It's probably about time.
So
right?
they've done it in different stadiums last year, and they are going to do it all through preseason games. So if they get stuff wrong, okay, it's just preseason. Sure. So they're going to use it in preseason. So the measuring and everything is going to be done on the field, back up with the chains and everything. So more electronics that are being brought in. I mean, we've said for a long time, like, I feel like you've got the technology to be able to spot these things on a field, that maybe you can just simply go ahead and do that. And do you really need to bring click a little thing or a clip to the 45-yard line, right on the 45-yard line, and then carry that out and then put that little thing on the 45-yard line and then stretch it either way?
Well, and if you got to hope it's on your sideline. If it's on the opposite sideline too, you're running 50 yards across
player's got to get out of the way.
Why do we have another one on that side? Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, why not just it's
expensive.
a sideline measurement, and you got all the way across the field, and guys are jumping over the rope, just in case. So
why not a tape measure? You can just get a tape measure and just
good. Because what if the guy on the other side slips out of his hands? Son of a gun!
What if it kinks? Right? You don't know that's going to take
and then if
away
it goes sideways a little bit.
If you get a Stanley one, I think you're good.
Is that right? The Stanley one?
Yeah.
What if it's a Contigo? Can you do the Contigo? Why does
I don't trust that brand.
Why does everything have to be Stanley these
lead
days?
poisoning.
Okay,
That's lead poisoning.
No, that's Led Zeppelin.
Is that the
That's
same
Philip Seymour
company, by the
Hoffman.
way? The Stanley Tools is the Stanley Cup.
That's a great question. It should be, because that
believe
Stanley
so,
Cup
yeah.
is.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know
That
that.
Stanley Cup is amazing.
Stanley.
My wife has a 5-gallon Stanley Cup.
Mine has 5 Stanley Cups.
5 different gallons or a 5-gallon? Because my wife's Stanley Cup, I believe, is the water you see at offices. That they just take that big old thing and
Big
put the water.
dumb cup.
Yeah, that's right. And it is amazing. We'll be at a baseball game, and it'll be in the car, and we'll get back in there and take a drink, and it's ice cold still.
Okay, so the Stanley brand has a rich 100-plus year history, born from inventor William Stanley
Not what
Jr.,
we asked.
who forever changed the way hot drinks were consumed. In 1913, he fused vacuum insulation in the strength of steel in one portable bottle, inventing the all-steel vacuum bottle we know and love today.
This thing's been around since 1913.
So Stanley, but he's also Stanley Tools, or is that
I
a
don't know
different
if it's
Stanley?
different.
Okay, so
Stanley's not a very popular name.
Stanley Tools.
just put Stanley Tools.
Same guy?
Same as Stanley Cup? Question mark.
Stanley?
Stanley's part of Black & Decker.
Okay.
And no, Stanley Works was founded by Frederick Trent Stanley, different Stanley, in 1843.
I did know that because they were actually fighting against Milwaukee, the brand.
The whole
Milwaukee's a
city?
city.
No, the
Two
actually,
good brands of tools there.
Yeah.
Yep. Stanley was fighting against the entire city of Milwaukee. Milwaukee wasn't having it.
What
All
about
right?
Ryobi?
They are going to
Ryobi get
defend their
involved
own.
here?
They're going to defend their own. Well, they didn't have like the electricity.
That Stanley
technology
Cup's
as
been around
much, and
100
the batteries.
years. That's
wild.
111 years. That's
Yeah, that would have been odd if
Good for that
Ryobi
guy.
was around in like 1840 with the battery operated lawnmower.
I think they would have sold out. Yeah, that would have been pretty popular.
Like the Model T and the Tesla, which was more popular back then when they bought that?
When was
those cars?
Yeti
Tesla.
invented? Like the 1400s? Did Chris Columbus have one on the way over?
Yeti.
Like the Yeti was probably sometime BC.
The actual term, yeah.
I think
I've
the
seen
actual-
one. Yeah.
yes, right.
Yeah. My wife's pastime is carrying more cups than she can handle out to the car, and if there are 3 open cup holders in the car, right, she will
they're
bring
not
4.
anymore.
She'll bring 4.
There will no longer
and
be 3
then
open
she'll
cup
she'll
holders.
put the one like a coffee cup, the one without a lid, just on the dashboard.
Oh, yeah.
And like she's never heard of centrifugal force in her life, and
like,
like every time it turns,
Who
it starts sliding. I'm like, did you not know this was going to happen?
It's licensed to drive. It's Corey
Yeah.
Feldman.
But it's probably your fault, though, right, Mick?
But bringing it up, yeah, introducing logic into her life. Yes, it is.
Yeah, way to go. Nice job.
I saw a meme the other day. It's of a husband looking at a wife. She's turning away. Goes, wait, are you still mad or mad again? Is this
it's a
new
good
or is
question.
this still from earlier?
It's a good question because I see you're frustrated. I'm assuming it's something I did.
Yes.
I'm just going to go ahead and assume that it's something I did. And if it's not, hey, that's great. Awesome. That's cool because I got away with whatever I thought you were mad at me about. So that's great. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from Mike North, Vice President of Broadcasting for the NFL. He weighs in with the Adam Schefter podcast about the Chiefs' schedule and the Chiefs being their bell cow now. We'll put a bell on that cow, huh? And you see what they're doing on national TV. More Zone next.
I want to say, was it at the
It did.
airport?
Was
He
it?
chased her down. How did it end? I can't
I think it was
remember.
in the New York City street.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Because he was getting back with the former
Scuba diver.
former wife. I guess it was wife because they were married. It was the honeymoon. Hello? You are for scuba? Hello? You are for scuba?
Was that
No, I'm not for scuba, actually.
the same one where they dab the pizza with the grease off, and then he picks up the napkin and like squeezes
Well, he was
it?
a risk management
that's right.
assessor, right? And he
That's
wouldn't
right.
walk over like grates on a sidewalk.
I totally get that.
Right,
I'm not a great walker
He
either.
wouldn't eat the peanuts at a bar, which we've all kind of gotten to
I
that
would
camp,
also
right?
not eat the peanuts at a bar.
Or why?
Because
They're
everybody
out there,
no,
but
it's
everybody's hands
He's
are
just
all
talking
over
about the ones that are like open community or just
Yeah,
sitting
I
on the
know.
bar and people just grab their hands in there and eat the peanuts. Not the
why
ones
not?
with shells on them, but just already
Yeah, why
de-shelled.
not?
All right. Well, I don't think I have to explain that to you. I feel like that's pretty much self-explanatory as to why.
Grow up, get your immune system right, dude.
Yeah, that's probably the thing that you would think. That's what it is. It's just it's a weak immune system.
There wasn't a pandemic. You're
Weak
talking
bloodlines
about opposite of this.
association or something.
That's what
I
it
don't
is.
know.
It's weak bloodlines.
Build up your antibodies. Oh,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Natural
I'm-
immunity. It's called Darwin. Get with the program, okay? Or don't. And everybody else will get with the program while you're not here.
Well, here's the thing. No
What's that?
one eats those nuts anymore. So now I'm the only one who's putting my hand in the nut jar.
That's fine. Let's hear from Mike North. He is the Vice President of Broadcasting for the NFL. And it was a clip that they shared this morning from Adam Schefter's podcast. And he was talking about, well, the Kansas City Chiefs. And here he is discussing the Chiefs' schedule and how they ended up with, I believe, 22 primetime games this year.
Good teams win, bad teams struggle. You could give a team that doesn't have a great roster the quote-unquote easiest schedule,
Right.
and they're still going to go 4-13. You could give the Kansas City Chiefs the worst possible schedule, and some have been saying we did, right? They're playing every day of the week except a Tuesday. They've got, multiple short weeks and catch whatever Buffalo off their bye, and Taylor Swift is going to be there. Like, we maybe gave the Chiefs the hardest schedule in the league. I suspect they're going to be there come playoff time, right? So, these are the kind of things that we're trying to think about, not just maximizing, viewership and fan interest and attendance and those kind of things, but what are the truly competitive inequities that we really need to be focused on and really need to avoid? I'm not sure we've really found that yet.
Did you hear any issues from the people in Kansas City about the schedule?
No, look, they knew. I mean, look, they've been our bell cow for a while, right? They're kind of used to carrying our water for some of these unique kind of opportunities here. You think about that Peacock playoff game last year. If you want to make Peacock a destination for an NFL playoff game, well, put a Chiefs game there. If Amazon wants to continue to try to build Black Friday into an event, even though it's not a national holiday, but can we turn it into one where instead of going to the mall, we're going to stay home and watch a game on television at 3:00 in the afternoon? Put a Chiefs game there. You want to make Christmas on Netflix a thing? Put a Chiefs game there. Like, you can't go to that well over and over again. There's only so many Chiefs games and obviously a lot of other really good teams and good stars and storylines in this league. But the Chiefs definitely were not surprised by their national television and some of the windows that we decided to use them.
It is interesting, though. I mean, it's
I
not
went from
surprising.
hating that guy to kind of like him at the end.
I mean, it's not surprising at all when it's like, okay, you want to make people watch on a Black Friday, put a Chiefs game there. You want to make people watch on Christmas on a Wednesday, Put a Chiefs game there. You want people to go and purchase Peacock? Put a Chiefs game there. Yeah, and the Chiefs are used to it. I think they are uniquely positioned to understand the ins and outs of having a schedule in which there are only 6 games this year that they will go on regular rest of what would be a Sunday to Sunday or a Monday to Monday. Just a regular week. They have 6 games this year where they have a regular week. And that's, and every other game, it's you're resting 8 days, or you're resting 4, or you've got a 5-day rest, or you've got a.
Can't imagine Andy's a big fan of that.
I can't imagine he is either. But this team has been dealing with it for a few years now, and they're going to keep dealing with it.
I feel like it's been ramped up this year.
For sure. And I think it's ramped up this year because now you're throwing in for the second year there's Black Friday. There was Black Friday last year, right? It was Jets and.
Was it?
Not Jets. It was Dolphins and. God, who would it might have been Dolphins and Jets because. The Dolphins' Tua got intercepted before half.
Was it Amazon?
Yep, Black Friday.
Black Friday. Got intercepted before half, and then I think it was the Jets that threw a Hail Mary, but the Hail Mary ended up being a pick 6.
Yep.
The Dolphins were trying to get into field goal range. They ended up getting 7.
I must have gone to the mall then.
Well,
and not stayed at home and watched TV.
You want to send people to the mall? Put a Dolphins-Jets game on.
Big Mall has been in our ears for years. So we decided to throw him a bone and made it Dolphins-Jets.
Big Retail has been trying to get after the NFL for a long time.
Did you get the Orange Julius?
I did, and the Dippin' Dots. It's the ice cream of the future. Just the future's never going to arrive.
I can't wait for the future to get that ice
still
cream all the time.
It's in 6,000. That's the year when.
Let's look it up, but that's still a slogan. Are they
What
still
is-
around?
That is
They're
the.
still,
that is
are
their
they still
slogan.
around? Are you kidding me? Go to a Royals game. They're
Dippin'
around.
Dots.
Dippin' Dots. My kids need one every game we go to.
I also
Especially you put it in that small little helmet. Oh, it's
I
so
got
cute.
I got a pendant engraved at Things Remembered.
As you should.
Yeah.
That's right. Did you get a cool little shirt at Spencer's?
Yeah.
Anything?
My family's picture on it.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. Some knickknacks at the different places.
Some
I got a really cool phone cover at one of the kiosks
Yeah,
right in the middle.
They had a great deal, only $79 for it, I heard.
Yeah, and then I got a massage when I left there. And that was
One of
pretty
those
cool.
chairs.
Yeah, and then I got a new phone plan. All while I was just walking down one area of the mall.
I signed
great.
up. They let me sign up for 9 credit cards.
I don't really think they're using that ice cream of the future thing very much anymore.
They'll always be the ice cream of the future. I don't care if you dropped it or not. Okay?
Future's here, old man.
It's always going to be Arrowhead for me.
Then is it?
Okay, Sterling?
Maybe their slogan now is ice cream of the past. We never hit the present day. We never hit current ice cream. It was future, and then bam, that's in the past.
What if it was?
Well, you just missed it. We'll serve it to you, but you just missed it.
So Bluebell tastes just like the good old days. Dippin' Dots should be Dippin' Dots. Ice cream. It's not of the future or the past or whatever. It's now just ice cream. It's not of the future. It's just Dippin' Dots. Ice cream of the future. Dippin' Dots. We're ice cream.
I hated the way he started that first soundbite with like, oh, everybody's saying, Chiefs are playing every day of the week but Tuesday, and they don't have their short weeks and all that stuff. I'm like, those are real concerns,
Yeah,
right? I don't need dumb guy voice, right? I don't need like complain guy voice that we always do, which he was almost slipping into. But then later he basically admitted over and over again, these guys are a commodity for us. This is a tool for the entire league to make money. We need them. They carry the water, and they truly are America's team. I wish Dia Wall was back in Kansas City still.
So she would know?
I told her all the time, because she's a huge Cowboys fan. I'm like, Chiefs are America's team. No, they're not. No, it's still the Cowboys. I'm like, I don't know. They win a lot more than the Cowboys. It's more than winning. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, cool. Then congratulations, you're not winning. But I'm like, I still think they got the other stuff too. So I might text her all this stuff.
As you should.
As I should.
Yeah.
Throughout NFL history, there are 2 America's teams for every era. There's the one bingo space that yells the loudest that they're America's team and tells everyone that they're America's team, and then the one that wins so much that you have to watch them.
Those are the Seahawks
said that?
and the
I saw
Panthers.
That was a great man said that.
Seahawks and Panthers?
Dylan Michaels said that.
No.
Yeah, no, not Seahawks Panthers. Right now it's Chiefs Cowboys.
Oh, okay.
Previously
Chiefs.
it was Cowboys Patriots.
I guessed wrong.
Yeah.
I guessed wrong. Yeah, Patriots the actual one, but the Cowboys yelling, "We are the ones."
Exactly. The good news for Cowboys fans, though, there's only one team that can be both.
Mm-hmm. It's a good point, and the unfortunately for the Cowboys fans, their Knicks are no longer playing in the NBA playoffs right now.
The Lakers lost.
Their Yankees have started out to a great start.
That is exactly right.
What about
That's
the
good.
Mets fans?
Their Dodgers are playing pretty well too, so that's good.
And Duke's got a great recruiting class.
I hear
so good.
Alabama football is pretty salty this year.
Yeah, but
Or are they now Georgia fans now?
Maybe.
That's a question.
I don't know.
It's
It's a real
basically the
question.
same state, right?
You gotta-
so they can cheer for both.
you got a new coach there at Alabama. You do wonder if you're teetering a little bit on whether or not because Kirby Smart has the Alabama ties. I mean, he was the defensive coordinator at
was.
Alabama. You know what it is?
He parts his hair like he lives in Alabama.
Here's the thing. I loved the defense more than I loved Alabama and Nick Saban at that time. So
a great
I feel
point.
like going and following Kirby Smart is not jumping off the bandwagon. It's discovering Kings of Leon when they were just a garage band. I mean, I knew it when it wasn't cool to know how cool Kirby Smart was.
They were just
Spiral
princes of Leon.
staircase.
yeah.
Dukes, the Earls of
They
Leon.
were
The
Earls of
Earls
Leon. You know, they added a king and an N.
You better start seeing Cowboys fans in their bio be like Cowboys, Georgia, Lakers, Yankees, and Chiefs. They're gonna start throwing Chiefs in there too. Like,
Well, they cheer for Man U.
Mahomes.
They've expanded across the pond.
a good point.
Cheer for Man U.
It's
Yep.
Liverpool now.
Yeah,
Is it?
Liverpool.
Is
yeah.
that's the one? That's the Yankees?
Or Man City.
Man City. More Man City than Man U. Yeah, but it is funny though because he was like naming it. Oh, yeah, playing all the different. Okay, they get him the week after the Bills bye. I'm like, no, they don't. No, they don't. The Bills have a bye after they play the Chiefs. The Chiefs are actually the last game for the Bills. The Bills play 11 straight weeks and then they get a bye. So the Chiefs will play the Bills after playing 11 straight weeks. So that helps the Chiefs actually.
Chiefs have Saints before the bye. Is that right?
Chiefs have Panthers. Well, no, the Chiefs have the Saints and then the bye, and then they've got the 49ers after the bye.
Okay.
So they're coming off the bye when they play the 49ers. Only one team is coming off a bye when they play them, and that's the Panthers. Which is sort of a bye for the Chiefs.
Right,
when he talked about carrying the water, and you know, there are basically the bell cow. I'm laughing, going, well, yeah. The only chance you have of the Saints playing Monday Night Football is if they're playing against the Chiefs. The only chance you have of is it the Buccaneers as well? Is that Sunday night?
It's a Monday night game,
That's
right?
awesome.
But those are the two Monday night games:
Yeah.
the Saints and Bucks.
You have three NFC teams,
NFC South teams.
NFC South teams, I should
That
say,
you're playing
that are
on prime
playing
time.
on a primetime game. That's insane. Only the Chiefs could do that.
The Chiefs this year, out of their 8 home games, have one Sunday noon game. Out of the 8 home, I mean that was tradition with the tailgating out at Arrowhead Stadium. You'd go there Sunday
I thought
noon.
they had 3 this year.
They have
This
one-
coming year.
home games.
Home game, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, home game because
But
the
3
Saturday,
overall, right?
Saturday at noon with the Houston
Yeah, I'm not
Texans.
counting that one.
Yeah, but the Sunday at noon because they play the Panthers Sunday at noon, but they
And
have a home
I think they
game.
have 2 road games, don't they? That are at noon on Sunday.
They have
Refresh my memory.
the Browns and the Panthers are road games at noon on Sundays. But the home games at noon are Saturday and Sunday. So they've got one
Kind of
Sunday.
surprised me
noon
about the
game.
Browns. I figured they might. That would be a special afternoon time slot or a primetime game.
Well, you got so the week before they're on Sunday Night Football, and the week after the Browns are playing a standalone on Saturday because then they're playing 4 days later on Christmas. So if you made the Browns game nationally televised, well, now you're having like almost every single what would be 4 of your last 5 games or 5 weeks in a row before playing the Broncos. That would all be nationally televised, which. I mean, could end up being because Black Friday with the Raiders, Sunday Night Football with the Chargers. Browns could be flexed, I guess, at that point to a different day. And then they play, not to Monday night because you wouldn't want to move them to Monday and then play Saturday before you're making them play Wednesday. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers, not happy with his schedule because they start out with 3 games in 10 days. Can you imagine playing that?
Again,
At the beginning of the season, the Jets have to play 3 games in 10 days. So they've got to really deal with that. September 9th, then they play
they go Sunday, Thursday.
Sunday, Thursday.
That's
Yeah.
more than 10 days, right?
They play the 9th, and then their last game is September 19th.
It's 11 days. There's that inclusive day in there.
Nope, it's 10 days. It's 10 days.
No, they start on Monday then maybe.
They do start on Monday. You're
Monday,
right.
Monday,
You're right.
Sunday,
It's
Thursday.
Monday,
Gotcha.
Sunday,
Yeah.
Thursday. You're right about that because people were pissed that the Jets are Monday Night Football Week 1 like they were last
You know
year
what they get?
when he tore his
A
Achilles.
really long. They give a longer off season than
They do.
anybody else.
Yeah, they're like the
One more day.
They're like the school that doesn't have all the built-in half days and teacher work days. They have a longer summer
They
break.
do. Yeah.
And the Jets had a really longer one because they didn't make the playoffs.
Well,
they're typically used to
and
long
their
off
season was
seasons.
over like one drive into the season.
Exactly.
last
But
year.
I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to come back. He kept telling us how he was going to come back early and break all these records.
No. no, that wasn't happening. The crystals didn't work. They didn't work. He did talk about yesterday how he was making a choice between returning to football or being the vice president for Bobby Kennedy. That was his choice. It was like, you'll
give me VP.
You'll be my VP. And so he decided that he was going to keep playing football. He's like, either I retire.
My God, man. Have some pride in yourself.
So he decided to play football still.
Oh, I'd be VP in a heartbeat.
Well, you'd be VP of a candidate that's not going to win.
I was going to say I'd be both. Yeah,
I'd do both.
Why not do both? Right.
Yeah.
You're telling me he can't
Well,
campaign?
first half of the season you wouldn't play, and then by
You know what?
November you're done.
Why don't you run for president while playing football? You tell me Mahomes doesn't run for president. He's not getting a whole bunch of votes.
I mean,
he's not 35.
He'd get my vote.
But, I'm shocked Brady didn't try to do that.
Also-
just to really.
Also, Sterling, he's ineligible for presidency. Because
Every one of these people you've brought up
Yeah, he's not 150
He's
are
not-
years
better
old.
options
He's not
than
a-
the two we're
well-
going to have.
Well, he's not of this earth. That's the problem. Not only was he not born in the United
Mahomes?
States, yeah, he's not even from this world.
Oh, he's too good.
Mahomes,
Well, he's not
yeah,
35.
so he does not qualify. He's
There's
an
legal
alien.
reasons,
You
too.
can't elect an alien to be president, unless we have been electing aliens as presidents for a long time and we just don't know it.
I don't know.
Then Mahomes could be a president. And Barry Bonds, when he was on steroids, could have been a president. 'cause
Allegedly.
He was.
Sammy Watkins, running mate. He's a lizard man.
Yep, that's right. See, Sammy Watkins could have been vice president. Oh, my goodness. That's right. They could have won Super Bowls together. They won one. Then they can visit the White House themselves.
Where
they
did
can
we
invite
go
their own
wrong
teammates.
here? Where did we go wrong with this
We haven't
conversation?
gone wrong.
You
No,
brought
no.
me in at noon. That's
I
where.
brought you
We're
at
talking
noon.
about Mike North
And now we're-
the scheduling
I wanna talk-
and the Chiefs being
So
the bell cow.
we talked to Charlotte Carey in his department, director
right.
of broadcasting in the NFL, and she listed. I think Nick Jacobs asked what a couple of the games you were considering for the opener with the Chiefs, a couple other opponents. She listed 7 or 8. That included the division, right? The Texans, other NFC teams, and she highlighted. And she was like, "But every move you make, there are 10 other dominoes that fall, right?
right.
It affects everything else, so much else, and so that's why they landed on the game they did."
We were talking with Matt on Friday out at the Advent Health Championship, and he had mentioned that it came down to an either or, and it was going to be the Texans to open the season. But then when they played, they decided to put the Chiefs on Christmas. It then didn't work to face off against the Ravens.
They were part of that
So
package.
they just flipped the Ravens and Texans because it was going to be. Did I say Ravens? But it was going to be Texans' first game of the season, and because they played on Christmas Day.
Let's
they had to
remember
flip
this,
it
by
to
the way.
Ravens.
There's no formula. Okay, they're considering.
But they did want it.
everybody.
But they did want it to be the Texans to start off the season.
I actually like the Ravens.
Good for you.
For the
You
Chiefs.
big fan? You a Lamar fan or?
From the Chiefs' perspective, you have a longer time to take a look at the Ravens, obviously,
I
going
agree.
into
I
that
love
game.
the first 2 games.
too.
You have a whole offseason to prepare for Baltimore and 10 days to prepare for Cincinnati.
I've talked myself into more or less this being a good situation for Kansas
like
City.
it.
And plus, the NFC South. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not a big. We'll take a time out, but I'm not a big fan of the thought process of Mike North and saying, "Well, if you're good, we'll give you any old schedule and
Agreed.
you'll be fine."
Since
you'll
when?
be fine.
Since when do you punish the winners more than they're already picking last every round, right?
They're already
They want
facing
parity.
a first
The
place
NFL wants
schedule.
parity. We know this.
Right, but it's well, if you're bad, it doesn't matter who you play. If you're good, the Chiefs will be there in the end. Okay, yeah, but are they going to be beat
You have
up?
these
and-
mechanisms in place. You don't
Yeah.
need to go manually, then make it even more difficult. Yeah.
We'll take a time out, come back, continue rolling more zone next. Hey, man, fantastic work today. We really appreciate you carrying the weight.
Carrying the water. I'm the Chiefs of this show.
You're the bell cow.
Thank you.
We've
I'm the
always
bell
said
cow.
that we just wait till Wednesdays.
You're
Monday,
messing
Wednesday,
with my
Friday.
schedule like they mess with the Chiefs schedule.
Monday, Wednesday,
Move
Friday.
my haircut back.
We bring our cow in here.
Your hair looks good, Mick.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You
It's my
pointed to
Memorial
it a
Day
lot.
cut.
He kept during the show, kept running his hands through it
Oh,
just
yeah.
to make sure.
A couple times I noticed that was your hand. I'm like, I don't have 3 hands.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to touch it.
My hair. Wanted to touch my hair.
So there's Mick Schaefer, our cow. We'll hear from him coming up on Friday, unless you're going to be at a lake or something.
I'll be coming back,
Okay.
but I'll be here.
Okay, great.
I'll arrive on time.
Okay, great.
Ish.
Well, unless we have you in early.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Just let me know. Flexible. I have no life.
Thank you, Mick. Chiefs next.
But at the same time, the guys can still get quite a bit of work done as long as they handle it the right way. And they're doing that. They're hustling like crazy, and it's a good tempo. So I appreciate that. Most of all, good for the young guys that are here. Not only to get exposed to the veteran players, but just to see how much faster it goes than rookie minicamp. Rookie minicamp is fairly vanilla, just so they get the concepts down, and then we start adding on to it here. Anyways, with that, time's yours.
Andy, just to jump into the off-season stuff beforehand, I mean, have y'all talked to Freshie and have, like, with the second incident, have y'all talked to him, kind of encouraging him?
Yeah, no, we keep open communication there. Yeah, for sure. And we just let the process play its way out there.
I guess the same with Wande and
Yep, same thing. Yeah, same thing.
Andy, what steps do you take as a coach and as a team in order to make sure that these guys, when they're away from the facility, are making smart, safe decisions?
Yeah, well, obviously you stay in touch with them, and you communicate before they leave. Make sure they take care of business. So, but sometimes things happen, and you got to work through that.
Have y'all talked with Harrison at all just about his comments and what he said?
Yeah, listen, I talk to Harrison all the time, so that's not I think I didn't talk to him about this. Didn't think we need to. We're a microcosm of life here. Everybody from different areas, different religions, different races, and so we all get along. We all respect each other's opinions, and not necessarily do we go by those, but we respect everybody to have a voice. It's a great thing about America, man, and we're just, like I said, a microcosm of that. And I wish, my wish is that everybody could kind of follow that. So, yeah.
He made some comments about the president. Do you expect him to go to the White House with you all and still meet with the president?
Oh, I'm sure he will. Yeah.
And
is there frustration that this offseason has had a lot of off-field distractions?
Yeah, listen, we don't want those things obviously to happen, but things do happen, and you work through it. And my thing is, if it's important that you learn from it, and that you end it. So that's important.
With so many women just on staff here and in the building, his comments kind of touched on women in the workforce. I mean, what do you tell them if they come to you with a concern about players speaking ill of, women in general?
Yeah, that hasn't happened. I don't think he was speaking ill to women, but he has his opinions, and we all respect that. I let you guys in this room, and you have a lot of opinions that I don't like. So.
When a player says something that can be deemed controversial, even though some people supported it, some people didn't, how do you help that not become a distraction for this team with as much attention that's on Harrison's comments?
Yeah, sure. The guys are good with that. They understand. I mean, they understand how things work. I mean, everybody's got their own opinion. And that's what's so great about this country. You can share those things, and you work through it. And that's what guys do.
As it relates to the schedule, the clog at the end with the 3 days or 3 games in 11 days, do you get heads up notice about that, playing on different days, every day but Tuesday? And then what's your reaction to this?
I don't. They don't ask me. It's the first time in my career that's happened. It's unique. So, and you know how we are. I mean, we don't really care. They could give us a Tuesday game if they want. We'll be okay there too. So we work through it, and we'll play anybody, anywhere, whatever they want to do. We're on board. So.
Andy, with the new guys, Hollywood, Carson, how are they kind of integrating themselves just through these practices and getting all those?
Yeah. So, and really in general, I like what I've seen from the new guys. Those two have done a real nice job. You guys got a chance to see it for the first time today, and Hollywood does a nice job out there as a receiver. It looks like he and Pat are developing a nice little chemistry there, and we'll just take it step by step as we go. And then Carson looks sharp. He's picking things up fast. Smart guy, and he fits in well. He seems like a heck of a person, and he's good for that room, or good in that room.
Andy, what are you asking overseas this time compared to a year ago?
As far as football?
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously, we're going to increase what he does. At the same time, make sure that he takes what he wasn't doing well last year and working on that. And we try to do that with all the guys. So we try to give him a little bit more, but at the same time, making sure that we don't forget about the things from last year.
Is there one or two things that you can pinpoint that you want to see improve from now until the start of whenever he can play?
Yeah, so he worked through, as you saw during the season, he worked through some of the drops. So we're good with that. He's got good hand placement as he goes through the routes. He's got that feel of where things can catch you quick and where you have a little bit more time. I think the place that he'll continue to work on would be just in space. He has a nice feel for it, but the more reps you get with that, the better you get with it. So the area that he plays in, that becomes important.
What does Xavier bring to the table? What have you seen from him? Was he able to practice today?
No, he didn't practice today. He tweaked his hamstring the other day, so he didn't practice today. But what we saw was somebody that was smart, understood what was being thrown at him, and then somebody that can run pretty fast. And we just basically got through the introduction stuff to him, so he was only out there for a day and a half. So but he got a nice introduction to things.
For the new kickoff rules, can he make a difference? Can a guy make a difference? I haven't watched the other leagues, so I don't know what.
Yeah, you know what? I think we're feeling that whole thing out as we go. Tubbs doing a nice job. We're trying to work on it. You can't block full speed, so it's tough to get a full grasp of that whole thing. But I mean, it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure any of us are going to know until we really boot the thing off. So
with Worthy's injury right now, how are you expecting him and Pat to try to build some of that chemistry when he can't be on the field?
Yeah, well, when he gets back, we'll take it from there. He's a smart kid. He's got a good feel for things. Comes from a good system. He's done a few of the things we've done in college, so he'll just work through that, and I think we'll be all right. He'll get enough reps as we go.
It seems like Hollywood has a good feel for the system already. Are you impressed by what you've seen from him?
Yeah, no, he's another one that's a smart kid, and he just kind of gets it. And Pat and there's so much talking going on, which I look at, and I think that's important. As long as the receivers are willing to listen and then share what they saw and it's accurate, you normally can develop a pretty good relationship relatively quick as you go. Yeah.
Todd? Coach, I saw they're going to experiment in the preseason with some technology in the ball to spot it on the line to gain stuff. What do you know about the system that they're going to use? What do you expect it to kind of show you?
Yeah, listen, I'm not. I think it's going to be fine, but we'll just see. I'll be looking at that like the kickoff, So we'll see how it works, and we'll kind of go from there.
Is it something that league and coaches have wanted to get more accurate on those? Are you across the line or not?
Yeah, I think the coaches and the officials too. I mean, they want to keep it. I'm speaking for the officials, but the coaches feel the same way, that they want to be as accurate as they possibly can. And so whatever technology helps them out, I think they're open to, as long as it's done the right way, and you can kind of keep the flow of the game rolling. They've been real good with all that stuff.
Matt? Coach, you mentioned experimenting with the new kickoff rule. We even got to see a little bit of that with Justin, doing some kickoff as well. How much excitement do you think that you can inject into that play now?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, there seem to be some options that you can do with it. A little bit like the run game, potentially. There are things that you can maneuver around with. Having the two up backs like they have, that's going to be, and then the two receivers, that's going to, two guys receiving the ball. It's going to be, it opens up some options that maybe the other group didn't have.
Maybe an advantage too, having a guy like Justin with kickoffs as being an extra tackler.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. Once you get through that first wall, there's not a whole lot past that other than that guy. So.
Andy, Patrick seems to be pretty vocal this time here on the field. How much do you really rely on that for just the tone of these sorts of midsummer practices?
Yeah, so I think it's great to hear the coaches do it. But then on top of that, to have a player that voices himself. When Kels was out here, he did the same thing. You know, he puts it out there and makes sure the guys hear it. I hear Chris Jones doing that on the defensive side. So and Bolden, that's so important. I think that they first of all bought in to what we're doing, and then are willing to share it with the other guys. So I'm sure some of the rookies are looking at it like, boy, this is crazy. But he's going to get you in the right spot and do the right things with it. So,
okay, thanks, Coach.
Okay, good. Yep.
All right, there's Andy Reid. A number of things to take away from that. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes, Nick Bolton, and Trent McDuffie. Good mood, Andy Reid, because the first probably 5-6 minutes of that could have gone differently if he was not necessarily in a good mood. But kudos to the media out there that continue to ask the questions that people want to have asked. And they didn't shy away from it. Andy Reid didn't immediately shut him down like we've seen in the past. Nobody got called a shock jock for that based on a podcast. But there were a number of, I thought maybe there would just be a couple at the beginning. Oh, you stay in touch, communicate. Same thing with Wanya. And yeah, same thing. And then there was follow-up after follow-up after follow-up after follow-up after follow-up about a lot of the different things with whether it be Butker or the offseason overall or women in the building, and whether or not there's been any conversations about Butker's view on a career for women. Have the comments and anything that's been taking place with the players, has that been a distraction at all? So well done on that. We'll talk some more about different things from the takeaway from Andy Reid. Here's Patrick Mahomes.
I think as the years go on, you start playing against the same guys over and over again. It's kind of that competitive trash talk. I mean, going up against guys like Drew and Nick and then some of the DBs, I mean, you talk trash in the locker room, but you love on each other too. So we're always competing, and then at the end we're talking about it and trying to find ways to make each other better. And I have to give away some of my secrets about stuff that I know about them, and they do a little bit the same.
Patrick, maybe this is related, but what did you learn about this point of the season last year that was beneficial to kind of, erase what you had done the year before and then really turn the focus to the next year?
I mean, every year you get to do that. I think just as I've gotten older and as I've learned more and more, I try to find different ways to tweak certain stuff and trying to push the envelope even more. And I think y'all saw today, we try to throw a few more deep passes, get back to the deep game and stuff like that. I think we've done a great job of mastering the intermediate short stuff, but we want to get back to having that part of the offense as well. And so coach is really pushing us to push it down the field, and it's hard to do against our defense, but we're trying to make it happen.
What did you see from Hollywood Brown, especially on that back end zone gravity?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it the entire off season from working in Texas till here, and I remember the first day I told guys like Drew, and I was like, hey, like he's gonna try. He tracks him down the field well, and he can really go. And I think y'all saw it today. I mean, I'm giving him chances downfield. He's making the plays happen, and the more plays he makes, the more we'll continue to give him those chances. It's a good addition to our offense.
Patrick, as a young black man who is financially stable, obviously, with your contract and stuff, what advice or what conversations are you having with Rasheed Rice to where we know about the car accident incident? I'm pretty sure you had a conversation with him after that. But then to find yourself in the situation that he had in the club at 1:30 in the morning, what kind of conversation are you all having with him so he kind of avoids putting himself in a situation like that in the future?
Yeah, I think it's not just me. I think it's just trying to do whatever we can to teach him how to learn from his mistakes. I mean, obviously, that was a big mistake, but you have to learn from it, make sure it doesn't happen again, and try to do whatever you can to be the best person you can be in society, not only for yourself, but for the people around you. And I think he is doing that, but right now we're just going to keep trying to do whatever we can to get him on the right path so that he can be a great football player, obviously, but we want him to be a great person, too.
Patrick, you've been so good about eliminating distractions in the past, but with this offseason, how have you just been kind of telling the team and everybody else, along with yourself, just make sure that you guys focus on football when you're here and trying to make any mistakes going, because it impacts all of us?
Yeah, I think guys know. At the same time, I think when you get in the locker room, it's kind of that safe space where everybody can be themselves, and we can worry about football and each other's families and everything like that. And so it's always good to have people here, have people in Kansas City, practicing, like you said, competing, and then it's just about being smart as we can when we're not in the building. And I think the guys understand. We have to step up as a team and an organization in that way, but we have to go out there and prove that in order for other people to believe that as well.
Patrick, Harrison's comments made at the commencement speech made a lot of waves. What was your reaction to just hearing what he said there?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like I was talking about with the Rashid thing. I think it's just I know Harrison. I've known him for 7 years, and I judge him by the character that he shows every single day, and that's a good person. That's someone who cares about the people around him, cares about his family, and wants to make a good impact in society. When you're in the locker room, there's a lot of people from a lot of different areas of life, and they have a lot of different views on everything, and we're not always going to agree. But and there's certain things that he said that I don't necessarily agree with, but I understand the person that he is, and he's trying to do whatever he can to lead people in the right direction. And that might not be the same values as I have, but at the same time, I'm going to judge him by the character that he shows every single day, and that's a great person. And we'll continue to move along and try to help build each other up to make ourselves better every single day. But at the end of the day, we're going to come together as a team, and I think that'll help out as well as eliminating those distractions outside the building as well.
Patrick, I have to ask, what did you disagree most with what he said?
I think there's just certain values that you have that some people emphasize more than others, and there's just certain things that I didn't necessarily agree with. But at the same time, I'm not going to judge him by that. I judge him by the way he acts every single day, and I'm not going to get into the full details of the entire speech. But at the same time, I know what kind of person he is, and I'm going to make sure that I look at that first, and then let the other stuff kind of handle itself.
That speech coming, I mean, the Time 100, that's aired, weeks before. But that speech coming the morning of, and then your speech about women's sports coming after. I mean, is there any type of thinking that's just like, is it just a coincidence, or is it just like?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty bad timing, I guess you would say. But like you said, I shot that a couple weeks before. But I think what makes the locker room so cool is you're able to have those discussions and become better and make those decisions for yourself. And so even though there are very vast, I guess, differences as far as those speeches happen at the same time. I mean, you're able to talk to guys and you get knowledge. And you make your own decisions at the end of the day, and I think that's what makes this country so great. Is that you're able to get as much knowledge as you can, and then you make your own decisions. And it gets a little divisive sometimes when you get to the social media and you get to outside the building. But in the building, you can have those healthy discussions and still be friends at the end of the day, even though you might not agree with exactly the same things.
Patrick, when you talked, Ricky said you talked to them after they got drafted, but what was your message to them? Obviously, the level of expectations that they should have coming in for themselves and their legacy that they want to. What kind of message did you give to this incoming draft class?
I think it's just to try to be great every single day. They have to learn how to work. I mean, that's every class that comes in, every group of rookies. You have to learn how to. You have to push them to be great, and that's why you see me over there yelling finish, and you see me talk to those guys after every single play. We know that those guys we're going to keep us going and keep this thing going, and we're looking obviously at this year, but in future years as well. And so we want to make sure that we push them to be great every single day. Every class that comes in, every group of rookies, you have to learn how to. You have to push them to be great, and that's why you see me over there yelling finish, and you see me talk to those guys after every single play. We know that those guys we're going to keep us going and keep this thing going, and we're looking obviously at this year, but in future years as well. And so we want to make sure that we push them to be great every single day. And so having those guys in, a lot of talented guys that have displayed a lot of talent so far. But they got to continue to be great because they have to be good fast. It's not like we're waiting for them to develop to be a great player. We want to be great the first day they step on the football field, and I think our coaches and the players around really push guys to be great every single day.
So we have 1:30 meetings. Let's go to Sam. We'll go across the room. Go to Sam.
Did you watch his whole speech, or did you just see the clips on social media?
I've seen a good amount of it. So I've seen the clips on social media. I think they're a little bit taken out of context in a little bit, but at the same time, it's whenever you say something, it's going to be clipped out and be on social media, so you have to take responsibility for that. He went out there and he thought it through, did his own speech, and that's his views. And I think it's at the end of the day, it's about us taking the man and his values and everything that he does every single day, and then judging him by that, not by one moment or one speech.
Okay. What's your initial reaction to the schedule and then that tight log jam at the end where it seems like you have 3 games in 11 days? How do you prepare for that?
I feel like our schedule has gotten crazier and crazier every single year, and so it's just about preparing for the week ahead of you. We know that we're going to have a lot of primetime games. We've built up the equity to be able to be in those games, and so now it's about how can we find a way to be better than we were last year at the end of the season, and so learn from our mistakes from last year, try to motivate ourselves to get ourselves healthier faster, and then go out there and win those games because there's a lot of great football teams we play at the end there.
Do you have one circled at all?
I'm going to try to be better on Christmas because last Christmas was not great.
Courtney, go ahead.
I know Worthy has the hamstring injury, and he'll get a lot of reps at some point. But like, what do you appreciate about his game most, and what are you trying to do right now to make sure he can stay up to speed, even if it's not out there?
Yeah, I think you can tell how intelligent he is. He's asking the right questions. I mean, before he had the hamstring thing, he was getting in, he was getting the work in. And sometimes it's tough with those guys coming off combine training, and then they want to prove that what they can do from day one, and such little injuries like that happen. And we're going to be precautionary right now. He probably could get out there if we really wanted him to, but he's sitting there. You can see him. He's sitting right beside the guys, asking all the right questions. And whenever he does get back on the field, I'm excited to get to work with him.
We'll ask to Matt and Steve. Matt, you've talked about Hollywood and Xavier a little bit, but you usually give us a pretty good scouting report on the other new faces too. What do you kind of for first impressions, being a guy like Jared and even a guy like Nico that's back from last year?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think y'all saw Wiley. I mean, the more he gets down the field, he can really make those tough contested catches. I want him to play even more physical. I know it's kind of hard, no TAs. You can't really bump and do stuff like that. But I think he can make those tough contested catches kind of in the middle of the field, and he's faster than people think he is. And so he played good. Nico's done a really great job being back. He was at the whole time we were in Texas getting the work in. Even guys like, watching the defensive guys like 21 Hicks play, I mean, he's a big dude, and he's going to get better and better. And you can see it early. He has the physical ability. It's about putting together Spags' defense, which is you have Spags' defense and Coach Reed's offense, which is hard for those young guys to learn. But I think we have a lot of guys that have come in and really showed. I mean, Joseph got the pick on me today, so we have a lot of guys that have come in and shown that they can really compete and be players for us.
Steve, you have a pretty diverse portfolio, man. How do you find the time in the off season? Is there someone you go to? I see you Sport Coffee.
Yeah.
One, who do you talk to about just your business ventures, and then why Sport Coffee?
Yeah, I always do stuff that I believe in. The sports coffee thing happened the sport coffee thing happened really naturally. Where I love coffee, I drink it a lot, but I don't like to put sugar in it. I don't like to put all the added stuff in there. So I wanted to find a healthier version so I can help my body not have that dad bod. And so the biggest thing is just doing stuff that you really invest in. I did this from a very early part of it. I got to sample it and trying to give my tweaks, and so stuff like that. And I've partnered with people that I believe in, and some have worked, some haven't worked. But I think if you have the passion and the belief, then you can make stuff happen, and that's who I look to invest in.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick.
All right, there's Patrick Mahomes and his Sport Coffee, and they are going quickly to Trent McDuffie now.
Getting in and out of his breaks. I mean, we'd love to see when a guy gets to come back from that.
You got most of the ones out there, DB-wise. I mean, it seems like y'all just picked up where you left off.
Yeah.
Is that something that's encouraging right there?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like yesterday there was just one play where we kind of messed it up, and then me and Jay Reed just played off each other, and I was like, man, it feels good to just 3 years into this, everybody knows what they're doing. You know, you ain't got to be out there worrying about who's doing what. We can just play fast, and I feel like going into this new season, I think that's huge where we're starting off at.
We definitely has to ask you, but obviously with Virginia Sneed going to Tennessee, what's that mean for you? Like, how big of a loss is that, in your opinion, with him not being there, but also the opportunity for the cornerback now?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we all love LJ. You know, disappointed to see him go, but also excited for his new journey. But, I mean, for us, I think it just allows new guys to step up and take on a bigger role, you know. Guys like me, you know, I got to step up, become more of a leader, and some young guys who are coming in, rookies and one-year players who really come in and make a name for themselves. And I feel like that's really exciting to see for me. And just, as a fan, seeing young guys come in and just play and dominate with the Kansas City Chiefs, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Do you find yourself being more vocal now?
Yeah, you know, I've had to speak up a little bit, especially with the rookies coming in and, you know, trying to learn this playbook and everything. I know I was there 2 years ago, so trying to just set that standard and just making sure we don't dip below it.
Trent, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we saw you play much on the nickel today. What's it like being, you know, primarily more on the outside now, but also because of the young guys, you're probably having to teach more about being in the nickel?
Yeah, I'm comfortable outside. You know, I told that to Spags, and I mean, even last year I was outside. So I feel like last year for me, more going in at nickel was more of the new thing for me. So coming to this year, it is kind of funny being on the outside and seeing these young guys come in, but I think they're doing a great job. I mean, Shamari Connors, Nick Jones, a couple of rookies coming in here and really holding down that nickel spot and having to do everything like that. I mean, they're constantly asking me questions, stuff, and in the film room, I mean, they're coming along great. So just being able to be there as just one of those guys like, hey, do this, see that, and just giving little tidbits like that, I feel like it's something I can help.
It's only been a few days, of course, but just your first impression of seeing Xavier Worthy, obviously, before the hamstring injury and obviously competing with Hollywood.
Man, I love it. Boy, we rolling, you know. Pat definitely got some weapons, and I mean, when I think about last year during this time, I think the defense was low-key, you know, getting after that offense, but we battling this year. And at least for me as a DB going against receivers like X when he comes back, and I mean Marquise Brown and J. Watt and everybody like that, I feel like it's just going to sharpen my tools even more.
Trent, the message this offseason has been, three-peat.
Yeah.
Something that's never been done before, on the football field. Do you feel like that level of intensity is high out there?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's everybody's main goal, really, do something nobody's ever done. And I think that just comes back to just working at it each and every day, not taking a day off and making sure everybody's really just coming together,
A couple more guys. So Matt and Courtney and Sam.
Spags has talked about LJ going to him in the past and saying, hey, I want to be the guy that covers the number one receiver on the team. Do you feel like that's something that you want to do or you need to do for this team?
I don't know if it's like a need, but that's definitely something as a competitor, 100% what I want to do. Getting to line up against the best receivers each and every week. I mean, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Matt said that there's kind of more of a concerted effort right now to push the ball downfield.
Yeah.
How is that challenging the secondary, just knowing that there's more speed out there at receiver?
Man, they rolling. I mean, y'all saw today, Pat was back there just throwing it deep play after play. So I think for defensive-wise, the timing and just understanding what guys really are about, mentally, just how focused you can be. Because when guys are rolling like that, your keys, how you're reading things, how fast you're doing things, everything's going to speed up. So being able to go out there and play against an offense like that, I think it'd be super beneficial for all of us.
Trent, just given how complex Spags' defense is, we saw you play a little bit of safety in the playoffs with some snaps last year, but Shamari rotating between those spots and Nickel is a second-year guy. Just explain to us the difficulty of maybe having to switch positions.
Doing all that? Yeah. Man, I give big props to Shamari. They got him playing nickel, safety, dime. I mean, both safeties in this defense. I mean, I'm like, yo, you got it. Like, this is crazy. Like, he be asking me questions. I'm like, sometimes, I don't know, man. You got to just play, So he's one of those dudes who's quiet but works really hard, asks the right questions and is very detailed. So maybe right now, he might make a few bumps along the road, but I just keep telling him, man, just keep working at it and you'll get better at it.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right, there's Trent McDuffie. We'll hear from Nick Bolton here, and probably very quickly if we do hear from Nick Bolton, since they have 1:30 meetings. So one of the reasons why they wanted to wrap up Patrick Mahomes there at the end of that press conference was because of those 1:30 meetings. But Trent McDuffie, and then we'll hear from Nick Bolton. But interesting to hear there in practice, Trent McDuffie, we were wondering how they would deploy some of those secondary players, and he's just on the outside. He's going to be the outside receiver this year. Perfectly fine. Here's Nick Bolton.
You guys make sure that you set the boundaries with such a good season last year, set the expectations now to try to improve upon this campaign.
Yeah, I think we got a lot of guys coming back in the same scheme, familiar faces. So we got some stuff we can clean up and just trying to grow every single day. We got a good start, got a good nucleus of guys coming back, and we're just growing in that department. Spags got a lot of trust in us, kind of pushed ourselves, and we kind of mentioned it. He had a back in 2012, 2013, he had a top-ranked defense, and we ended up being 31st, and so the year after. So we understand that's just a challenge ahead of us, and I'm not regressing. I'm trying to get better every single day.
What do you think of the schedule and how many games circles looking at it?
Yeah, it's got an interesting schedule, man. The first couple of weeks, obviously, we've had those familiar faces we played against, so obviously those first couple of weeks will be exciting, and other than that, man, just trying to maintain momentum. In the middle of the year last year, we kind of had lulls, and I know that's the focus at this point, and just trying to stay high and just kind of keep it going throughout the season.
Nick, saw you going back and forth with Patrick out there a little bit. Just talk about the friendly competition and making each other better.
Yeah, man, we got the greatest on the planet. We have to go against every single day, and makes us better every single day. We're talking about certain stuff that he sees from us that we know we're bringing blitzes or bringing pressure or certain disguises that aren't very good, and he can kind of read them out, and we're doing the same thing on both sides. So, man, we're just trying to get better every single day, man, and we're growing in that department. He has a lot of trust in a lot of young guys over there that's evolving and making plays for him down the field. And, our defense on the back end, man, we're going to get tested every single day. Now, we love it.
It seems like y'all are a young defense, but all of y'all have experience. All y'all are kind of getting pushed up there. Just, does it feel good just how, as a collective, y'all are just learning and growing? Yeah,
man. I think since we've been here, man, guys have been in the same system and kind of growing together. We're learning in and outs of the scheme together at the same time, and so we understand the communication part and the weaknesses of the coverage. I think that's a big thing for us, and just trying to use our athleticism, use our youth, and things that we understand that, the ball might get thrown here and we have to just vice tackle it or use our athleticism to make a tackle. We're kind of learning those things this year. We've got a lot of young guys, Shamari, coming back, and we've got veterans also as well. So that's just a group effort, and we're all trying to get better every single day.
Last year was Willie
called Juice Man.
Yeah.
Brought the energy every day. Who's that guy on the defense?
Yeah, man. Drew, I kind of got Pat fired up today, so I think he took that role today. I think it's going to take effort for everybody, man. We got to bring our own energy, bring that effort, and just make an attempt to be better every single day and uplift the guys around us.
Nick, you talking about getting tested. Do you feel like there's more deep balls from the offense this time of year?
Oh yeah, they're definitely taking advantage of us, playing some coverages, learning some things, and trying some different things out. But we've got a lot of speed on the back end, man. And Pat trusts those guys to go out there and make plays. Y'all saw Hollywood made a one-hand catch in the back of the end zone, man. That's pretty nice. On a roll around, 40-yard pass. So you got to shake his hand on those. But we'll definitely take some deep shots early this year.
Couple more.
You all are used to playing deep into the season. Football is a long season. How can you build towards a championship in this phase and what you all are doing right now?
Yeah, man, it's just the foundation. It's communication, player to coaches, coaches to player, just trust, communication, footwork, keys, eyes, alignments, assignments. All those things are just minute things that kind of help us get to our end goal. And it's kind of those things are just the foundation of what we got going there. Now we could build on that. We don't get many run plays now, but those are some things we work on earlier in practice too. So just building those foundations and just kind of make sure every single day we're kind of stacking it.
Last two, Todd and Harold.
These seasons have been long. You were banged up last year. When do you get the itch to get back and do this?
Yeah, man.
Being off for a while.
Yeah, man. I actually had an opportunity to win a Super Bowl, and I missed almost half the season. So I feel like in terms of everybody else in the locker room, man, I'm a lot healthier. So I took advantage of that going into the offseason. I didn't sit around as long as I usually do. Kind of started to get ahead on some things, and yeah, I feel good, man. I feel healthy. I feel a little lighter now, and I'm just gonna move around a little bit better.
Nick, fun question to wrap it up, man. TV commercials start now. How would you assess your acting abilities?
Yeah, man. I'm growing in that department, man. Trying to show a little personality. Y'all see me here, man. I'm a real serious guy, but yeah, man, get out my comfort zone a little bit. Get out my comfort zone a little bit, and yeah, man, it's fun. Those people at Blue Spring 4, man, did a great job, man, making me, I guess, giving me an opportunity to be myself in that environment and just having fun. So if I have an opportunity to do it again, definitely gonna do that. Yeah, thank you.
You gonna make a side bet with Noah Gray on softball this weekend?
What's that?
You gonna make a side bet with Noah Gray on softball this weekend?
Oh no, I'm not even gonna be here this weekend. So.
All right, there's Nick Bolton. Man, there's a part of me that really, not even a part of me, all of me wanted him to answer the question about the acting. And I don't know how many people are on set. Let's just say there's 25 people on set. I wanted him to go, I'm just trying to do my 1 of 25. Just be out there. Everybody do their job. Just do my 1 of 25 because it's a 1 of 11. Got to do my 1 of 11. It's 1 of 11. Everybody's got their job to do. I got to do my 1 of 11. He's just out there. He's doing his 1 of 11. 1 of 11. What about this commercial you're doing? I'm just trying to do my 1 of 25. Just be the guy that's doing that and show my personality a little bit. All right. Okay.
I could hear Nick Bolton talk every single day.
Could you?
That guy is, in my opinion, so insightful, and he gives you stuff. I thought it was fascinating. He was also the second straight player to mention Shamari Connor by name.
Yeah, right.
Trent McDuffie had glowing comments on Shamari Connor, and then Nick Bolton all of a sudden threw Shamari Connor in there as well.
Yeah.
But the IQ of Nick Bolton, as well as, again, you know how Tyrann Mathieu was almost the DC, the secondary DC Spags would call him?
Yeah.
I feel like Nick Bolton's almost taken that role on in his own right. He's only been, in the NFL now? Is this his third or fourth? His fourth year now.
Last year.
But he really does feel like he's been here almost a decade, just his mindset.
All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk about some of the things we heard from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Trent McDuffie, and also Nick Bolton. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. The program with Soren Petro comes your way at 2 o'clock. And then, of course, tonight we've got the NBA playoffs right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Pregame starting at 7 o'clock. And game number 1, Western Conference Finals, Dallas, the Mavericks heading up north to Minnesota and the Timberwolves. Interesting hearing from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Trent McDuffie, Nick Bolton. It's the first of what will be the next 4 weeks. We'll hear from those guys talking, maybe not those specific players, but from Andy Reid. We'll hear from him next week on Thursday, the week after that on Thursday, and then into mandatory minicamp. And Andy asked a lot of questions about this offseason so far with Rashee Rice, the car incident in which, he's weighed in on before, but this latest one that took place in Dallas, Harrison Butker's comments that has been, obviously national attention, and how that impacts the team, distractions, etc. So he weighed in on a lot of that. Talked about Rashee Rice and what his improvement will be this year versus last year, and then Hollywood Brown, etc. But the large majority, a bigger chunk of that interview or that press conference media availability was about some of the off-field distractions. And good on the media that it wasn't just the cursory, hey, what do you think about what's going on? It's we just try to focus on the guys, and it's just everybody's got a voice, so we stay in touch, we communicate before they leave, hope they make good decisions. Sometimes things happen. Okay, let's move on. All right, well, he's answered the question, so let's move on. But no, there were lots and lots of follow-ups that took place there. So good on the media, because they were asking different types of questions. So it wasn't just badgering Andy Reid. And I will say that Andy could have very easily been the, enough with this. I'm not answering any more questions. Come on, next question, whatever. But he answered a number of them. And even the end, the last one that was asked was about the comments and the off-the-field stuff, how you keep that from being a distraction right now moving forward. I mean, and that was like the 7th or 8th question that he got. And even that, he was like, yeah, and then started answering the question. I mean, we've seen Andy Reid at times that, he didn't want to answer anything about Tyreek Hill in a press conference or his podcast a couple of years ago. And he had already won a Super Bowl at that time, had Andy Reid, okay? He was already a Super Bowl winner. Now he's a 3-time Super Bowl winner, is Andy Reid.
The one question that I thought he was really going to just almost laugh off, just stop and not answer, was Justin Reid on kickoffs.
He said there are options.
But
it wasn't
potentially
Justin
but it
Reid.
wasn't like him laughing. It was actually like there's potential options. I don't know how serious he was, but I was expecting when that question was asked, because again, we all like hypothetically think, we're like, wouldn't this make sense? But we all, I think, realistically know that's not going to happen. But he gave it a serious answer, and part of me is sitting here going, has Andy and Dave Tobe actually thought about Justin Reid on kickoffs?
Oh, yeah.
He mentioned once you get past, he even said, once you get past that, last line of defense, it's your kicker and him.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
a lot different than the past.
No, I think Dave Tobe, one of the things he talked about was they're already looking at ways that they don't need Harrison Butker on the kickoffs, that they're looking at different things to incorporate who is actually doing the kicking off of the football with these new rules. And maybe that's Justin Reid, maybe it's somebody else, but maybe that's Reese Lightning, since rugby also, kicks while they run. It just, they're a
little different, yeah.
It's a little different, but there are, running, dropping the ball and kicking it ahead. I mean, they've got a lot of different techniques, which is why we see like rugby style kickers, etc. But maybe it's even him, and that's where they use him a little bit more on the special teams aspect. Who knows? But I think there are teams all over the league. I mean, we heard Justin Fields, and kickoffs and kickoff returns, et cetera, that the Bear or the Steelers are looking at in incorporating different ways. I have no idea how teams are going to go about using and implementing different ideas for this, but I love the rule change because we get all these different strategies that can take place and different types of players and used in different ways. We'll see.
I just found it fascinating because I didn't know how much real thought they would give it, and it sounds like legitimate thought is being given to that, which I again, I think is interesting.
Well, it's going to be a bigger part of the game because kickoffs are going to be returned. I mean, you're going to have a kickoff return pretty much every time. I think few and far between will you not have a kickoff return. I think pretty much every time there will be a return, so you'd better know what you're doing, and you'd better be, good enough to do that. Todd Lebo said today out at practice that Justin Reed was taking reps kicking the ball in those special teams sessions today at OTAs.
It's awesome.
And that's why the question then was asked is, Justin
Awesome.
Reed's out there doing that. Yeah. You don't need Harrison Butker to kick the ball if you don't have to put it 10, 15 yards deep past the end zone.
Or kick it super high.
Right. You don't have to do that
stuff.
technique of kicking it really high between the hash marks and the numbers, or between the numbers and the sideline, while kicking it really high in the air. So one, it doesn't go in the end zone, and two, it definitely doesn't go out of bounds. Like, that takes a lot of practice and a lot of work and a lot of technique by somebody who will spend practice doing that, as opposed to as a safety, spend practice being a safety, and then now you got to learn that. Well, no, you just have to kick the ball down there, get it between the 20 and the 1. And that's it. And now go tackle.
Deron Cherry, right? Wasn't he?
He was a punter.
He was a punter.
Originally.
Deron Cherry would thrive in this new kickoff.
In fact, he's at the most interceptions in the history of the game by a punter.
Yeah. Is that 50?
50 of them.
Yeah.
50 interceptions by a man who joined the team to be a punter.
I did find Andy Reid talking about Xavier Worthy. I know it's May 22nd, so it does not necessarily matter. But my just initial reaction when I hear Xavier didn't practice today, tweaked hamstring, I just go, oh, gosh.
Soft tissue.
Oh, gosh, here we go. Now, again, it's May 22nd. This does not matter. We're not even close to the season. But
well, I mean, the first day of rookie minicamp, he sat on the sideline for the second half of it with his helmet in his hand. Whether that was because he struggled or whatever it might be, I don't know. I mean, there's been a couple of times where he's been off on the side during the 6 practices now that he's been a part of the Chiefs.
They're also overcautious in
That's
the
true.
training room
100%.
with the Chiefs. So.
And Patrick Mahomes said if it was a game, he'd play. He's like, it's really, really cautious, extreme. So he's like, if this was a game, he'd be out there playing right now. So.
again, it was more or less the,
I'm with you.
no, even though it's May 22nd.
I'm with you. I'm an injury worrier. It's what I do. I have typically thinking positive when it comes to my teams, which is why I, lost with the Royals and the Chiefs in the last couple with the ZOUs. But I have strong worries and concerns when it comes to injuries and things like that, which is why I just wish there was a way to turn injuries off in the NFL. Just turn injuries off and let the best team win. Because I feel like the Chiefs have a pretty good chance of doing that each and every year without the unknown about the injuries that may take place.
I loved Mahomes talking about Hollywood Brown. I mean, the glowing reviews of, well, you saw the one-handed catch in the back of the end zone, but also mentioning, working with him in Texas, saying he tracks it well, giving him a chance to make plays, which I thought was a little interesting because Mahomes typically isn't a guy who puts the ball in harm's way very often, right? Giving your guy a chance to make plays, he typically hasn't really done that because when you're throwing to MVS or McCole Hardman or Kadarius Toney or whoever else is running these deep routes, you're trying to make sure that the defense doesn't make a play because you don't necessarily, I don't think, 100% trust your wide receiver to go up and get it. But it sounds like he's going to start giving more and more opportunities for Hollywood Brown, which, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but it does sound like you're going to start seeing more deep balls and more opportunities for Hollywood Brown on the deep ball than we've seen in the past with the plethora of wide receivers they've thrown out there.
Well, I'll just say, just thinking about the offense that you put out there with Patrick Mahomes, Pacheco in the backfield, and then Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, and Travis Kelce. Like, those are now your weapons with Pacheco in the backfield and Patrick Mahomes. Vastly different. And Patrick even saying in the press conference today that they are making more of a concerted effort to push the ball down the field. The coaches are encouraging them, throw the ball down the field, deep passing game, reincorporating the deep passing game. And Trent McDuffie mentioning, he's like, well, this time last year, defense was kind of, winning. We were kind of doing our thing. And he's like, now it's much more competitive with those things. And Trent McDuffie playing on the outside.
Yep.
We know that. Wants to travel with receivers.
Yep. That was
wants
a big
to do
question.
those things.
Huge question.
And he mentioned 2 players that are filling in the slot that he's been helping out a lot in terms of getting to learn the slot position is Shamari Connor and Nick Jones. Those are the 2 people he mentioned by name in working in the slot that he's been communicating with and teaching now while he is now moved to the outside. Yeah. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. right, wrapping up the show here on this Wednesday edition of The Zone. Heard from Max Reaper in the 11 o'clock hour, Mick Schaefer in the noon hour, and then Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. We heard from Trent McDuffie and also Nick Bolton.
Who's a little lighter.
Yeah, okay.
He said Bolton is a little lighter.
Little lighter, interesting. NBA Western Conference Finals, Game 1 coming your way tonight. Dallas heads to Minnesota. We've got that for you right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB 730 tonight. We'll see if one of these teams gives away a game like the Pacers did last night. Good thing they didn't use their last time out on the inbounds when they were struggling to get the ball inbounds and they couldn't figure it, and then they turned it over.
They saved it for tonight. They saved it.
No, they saved it so they can set up the play of Halliburton fading away from three after Jaylen Brown tied it when they didn't foul, but they couldn't foul because they didn't switch screens. Cool.